What is going on, y'all? This is the Caveman. I'm here with Football with Oz Austin for episode 115, I believe, of Against the Blitz, and we have another very special guest on with us today to continue our Summit series, and we're doing the quarterbacks today. By the time you're seeing this, we've already done receivers with Theo, we've done running backs with Bladen, and now Matt is finishing the trio of doing quarterbacks here on the final Summit episode that we're doing here. Matt, thank you so much for hopping on. If you guys are watching this, you know who Matt is. He hosts Stay Hot with Bladen and Theo. It's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. All of the links to his and Stay Hot's content will be down in the description. But Matt, thank you so much for taking the time.
No, thanks for having me in the quarterback episode. It does not get any bigger than that. I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
Who are you a fan of, and what is the worst loss you've ever seen those teams take?
Bengals and wild card Vontez Burfict hit Antonio Brown. Pac-Man combines for like 30 yards of penalty, and we lose. Like off the dome. That was I cried.
I feel you. Yeah, I mean, I would figure Super Bowl might beat out the wild card loss to the Steelers, but maybe it's more of like the way in which they blew that one is particularly painful.
Before I answer this, I did listen to that episode, and I was wondering, because I know you guys are putting a lot of stock into when the game happened. For context, for those listening, Stay Hot did an episode ranking and discussing the worst losses for a team from the perspective of the fans. So I'm a Bills fan, and you guys were talking about the Super Bowls, and I wasn't alive for the four, but my dad would definitely comfortably say wide right be the worst. I think Bladen. I see where Bladen was coming from, but he was like thinking about it, I think, too deeply. But wide right definitely answers that. But for me, I think it's 13 seconds. Like it's got to be. I was at the game. I feel like I talk about this too frequently, but we drove to Kansas City and watched that in person, and then drove home that night. So that was horrendous, regardless of the round. And I think part of for me, when listening, mentioning like, okay, it was the divisional round, you get to, the conference championship, etc. It's like just considering what occurred after the fact that season in the AFC, it made it that much worse because it felt like, okay, if we beat the Chiefs in the fashion we did, then how are we losing to any of the teams that, came after? It felt like that was kind of the AFC championship. Granted, that was the year the Chiefs ended up losing to Cincinnati, but either way, I feel like if the Bills beat the Chiefs in that game, it's kind of hard to be that on fire and lose. But I guess the Chiefs did too, so it's hard to say. But I don't know. The Rams felt beatable, I guess, is where I'm kind of getting at, because the Bengals
they
got
could have
close.
Won it all. Most of the years the Bills have lost, they could have won it all, except probably this year. Honestly, I really don't think they would have beaten the Seahawks.
No,
I understand the idea is like, would they have had a better chance than the Patriots? Probably, but is that offense around Allen? Like, are the receivers really going to go get it done against the Seahawks? I don't know.
Yeah, Khalil Shakir, like surprise Super Bowl MVP. I don't know.
Well, I do wonder how big of a tink in the armor the run game would have done against Seattle, because if there was anywhere you could have beaten them, it was taking advantage of them on the ground, and maybe you get in a swing of things, the game stays within reach, you're keeping them on their toes with play action, and I think maybe then you could see a different story. The Patriots were just such a sheer, drop back to pass, hit you with the long balls, the crossers. Like, that just kind of played right into the strengths of the secondary for Seattle. It's like, so maybe Buffalo hits them with a different counter punch than the Patriots had in their back pocket. It was just not a good matchup, like, schematically speaking. But I still, I don't think they win that game. You're a Josh. You're guaranteed one Josh debacle, and that probably is enough to lose you that game. So you're just not getting a perfect game from him, I don't think. I'd like to think so, but I can't. That's not realistic. But that's a fair question, because I know you're a Panthers fan. You were vouching hard for the Super Bowl 50 loss. That was what you were standing on.
Yeah, it's one of the worst losses ever, and I think people really underestimate. Of course I'm biased. I mean, like I said on the show, it's the Super Bowl my favorite team lost when I was 14 years old. So I think it's probably way worse than all you guys think, right? Like, go figure. But I do think people underestimate or misremember exactly how that game played out. It really was a lot like Ohio State losing to Michigan the year they won the national title, 2024. It was a lot like that. Obviously, the Broncos are a better team than Michigan. It wasn't like that level of, favorite for Carolina. But it was similar in the sense that it's like, well, how is this Broncos team going to score on us? Right? That was the idea. And the answer is, well, punt return, that gets them inside the red zone, fumble return, fumble touchdown, mostly that type of shit. And then you'll have 3 yards over 40 drives that total for 0 points.
Yeah,
And that's how you lose that game.
I mean, if the opposing team has an edge rusher that wins Super Bowl MVP, that probably feels significantly worse than if the quarterback just played really well against you. But having the defense just tee off, it does gotta sting.
And Coney Ealy for the Panthers out of nowhere would have been Super Bowl MVP if Carolina had ended up winning that game, which I think speaks to the limitations of the Broncos offense too. The Broncos offense was no better than Carolina's. It was way worse, in fact. It's just Von Miller and them, I guess, are pretty good, I guess. So,
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, but at some point it's like you are what? How many blunders throughout the course of that game would you count on your hand? Like,
all right, I would say I'm trying to think what is a true blunder. I mean, Here's the thing. Some of this stuff is like unforced error, but some of it is like an unforced error that does kind of speak to the team, like interception in Broncos territory because it bounced off of Ted Ginn's hands. That's an unforced error, but that is part of the issue with that Carolina team is that the receivers stunk and Ted Ginn couldn't catch the whole season, right? But I would say that's a brutal one. Von getting home and ending drives, that's going to happen no matter what, just because of the reality of the tackle situation versus who Von is. Multiple of those being fumbles that basically give away 14 points in a 14-point loss, that didn't have to go down like that. You run the simulation, Von isn't exactly getting shut down by Mike Rimmers in another universe, but maybe he's just getting 2 sacks and no fumbles, right? The Mike Tolbert fumble was really bad. A 60-yard punt return was really bad. A missed field goal on top of that. I'd say 5 right there. And that's pretty much the whole game swing.
Well, the reason I ask is because how many of those would you say you can take away? I mean, obviously they all carry different weight, but the reason why, if I were you, it would sting so much is like you take one of those 5 away, the game could be completely different. And obviously that's a completely hypothetical world, but it hurts so much because it felt like at some point, like, when is it just going to stop? Like, it just got to, the bounces have to stop. The bullshit has to stop at some point. But
that's what you were thinking the whole game. That's almost a more frustrating game script than like losing on a last second field goal or blowing a game. Yeah. Probably not like with some of the games we were talking about in that episode, 2014 NFC Championship game, giving up an onside. That would be more frustrating from a game script perspective. But just between like the game playing out like that and it never really being out of hand until 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and the Broncos just being such a weird team with such a pitiful quarterback, and Carolina like never getting back and it ruining Cam's legacy, and they would have been like one of the all-time great teams. Yeah, I really think it's one of the worst losses ever. And you ask a Carolina fan who has maybe seen that and Super Bowl 38, where they lose to the Patriots on a last-second field goal on kind of a blunder itself, right? John Casey kicks it out of bounds. Patriots start at the 40, so they really get an easy look at getting themselves in the field goal range. I think almost every Panthers fan would agree. Super Bowl 50, way worse. That was supposed to be their year. Yeah. And then they lost the game horribly.
Well, it's definitely a fascinating conversation that I almost think we'll kind of get back into a little bit inadvertently for one of the segments we have later down the line. But let's get into the quarterback stuff. I feel like we should start with a category that might bring up a couple different names, and that will be the one bounce back and one regression candidate, one of each for quarterbacks. And I'll kick it off with my bounce back candidate, and this kind of sticks with how I feel about the team overall, and that's Baker Mayfield. I think the Buccaneers. I've been so high on the Buccaneers since the draft. I think they knocked it out of the park with the acquisitions on the defensive side of the ball. I think they have one of the most underrated defenses in the NFC. Like I think this could be if all things click and Reuben Bain and Keontae Scott are wrecking havoc the way that, in a perfect world it looks like they could with Todd Bowles. It could be a very good defense, and I think if Baker is healthy and if Egbuka and McMillan and those guys really rise up to the task, then it's just going to be on Baker, and I don't have reason to believe that Baker will kind of fall through and not be able to pull through, I guess. So you're coming off a year where you were banged up, all your weapons were hurt, in and out of the lineup. I think this is leading up to be whether his career continues or not. Like if Baker sucks this year, you're probably really like, all right, this is make or break.
We got to do something. I agree.
Right. So now I think we're at a point where I trust Baker to bounce back and kind of buck on some of those rumors. So I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I feel like for me, like Baker himself has never his play alone has never fully been the issue. It's always just the weapons that you see trot out there over time because they have the hardest time staying healthy. Like every single year we're saying the Buccaneers have one of the best group of weapons, and then slowly we start seeing Sterling Shepard and friends and O'Keefe and Payne Durham and friends, and they're just dominating snap shares. So it's mostly to me going to be about his health and not playing through shoulder injuries and lower body injuries, and also keeping his receivers healthy. Whether he's throwing them injured, I don't know. But that's the reason why they inevitably lose more games than they should every single year.
Yeah, Baker is interesting. He's kind of like he's a gunslinger without crazy tools or like super arm talent in terms of accuracy. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think you have stretches where the results from that type of play are really good. I mean, he was getting MVP chance right through the first 6 weeks, and then he kind of fell off. I like his aggression overall, but it can betray him a decent amount. I think if he's in a really good situation, the aggression that he has is overall a good thing, and it can produce good results. And there's a lot of quarterbacks out there who aren't aggressive and don't give their offense a chance and are probably too scared of avoiding negative plays or too scared of turnovers, right? Baker certainly is not that. But at the same time, I'm not like unbelievably high on him overall. So I'm not against his situation improving and his overall like statistics improving. And maybe the shoulder gets healthier and he's better that way. But I think he's kind of is who he is overall at this point in his career.
Right. No, I agree. I think generally speaking, this comes from a place of just trusting that everything in place is like Grizzard. He left on a pretty sour note. I don't think anybody in Tampa was a fan of the work he was doing last year. I think Zach Robinson, like on the opposite side of things, was the only coach in Atlanta that people thought had a head on his shoulders. So now they acquire him. I think that could be beneficial with the weapons they have. And the way I think about it is if everything is perfect and everything is set up for Baker to succeed, I don't have a reason within the last 3-4 years or so to believe that if Baker is healthy, Baker won't pull through. That's kind of like where I'm at. Like if you look at 5, 6, 7 years ago, fine. But in recent history, I feel like when healthy, when things are situationally healthy and proper, he's always pulled through, I feel like, in a lot of big moments and a lot of big stretches throughout the season. So I'm going to bet on it. I think I'd bet on it if I had to.
I mean, yeah, with the mentality he has, like it does feel safe for him not to just fall off of a cliff at like how old is he, like 31 or 30? Like I have no idea how old he is, but he's definitely got some more in the tank. And for him, it's more like just coming back to how he was when he was healthy. Like you were saying, Matthew, like I don't think he's going to be like a better version than he ever was, especially not having Mike Evans to kind of be the recipient of those throws, but I still feel like we're getting something pretty good.
Well, he falls into that huge range of quarterbacks where they can play great. They can lead a very good passing offense. I mean, in 2024, they were phenomenal. I forget the exact statistics, but I know analytically they ranked very highly, right? But they're largely situationally dependent. And if they land in a bad spot, if they're on, bottom 10 supporting cast roster type situation, they're going to look really, really poor. There's a lot of QBs like that. There's a number of quarterbacks who we've actually seen that play out with, like Baker being honestly the prime example, right? Where it looked like his career was dang near over. Turns out, no, he's just playing for the Panthers. He's actually totally cool. And if he goes play for the Rams, it's all good. And then if he's with the Buccaneers, it's not so bad. So you see that. Darnold is another one, although Darnold has really meaningfully improved. Daniel Jones is kind of a low-end version of that we've seen recently. I mean, God, how bad. And he was horrible. It's not like you're not seeing it, but those guys, there's a lot of guys at least within range. One off season, they make some improvements, or they just have a nice run on an offense that plays to their strengths more, and they can really do some pretty special stuff or lead legitimately great offenses. Baker certainly can do that. So if you believe in the situation, pick him in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Austin, who would you say fits the description? I think I know who you're going to go with.
I don't know if you do, because kind of similarly to like what we were just talking about, like situationally dependent. I got Geno Smith on here.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say Jaden. Okay.
I mean, he's just bounced back from injury. Like, he's always good.
Yeah.
But Geno Smith, like, he was really, really impressive. Like 2 to 3 years ago. And then he goes to the Raiders, and a lot of people still think that the Raiders situation was probably better than it was. And he plays awful. Like, arguably a bottom 3 starter that was in the NFL last year. So the parameters for a bounce back are they're pretty light. Like, he just has to improve off of that. And with Garrett Wilson, who is like ungodly amounts better than Trey Tucker, and bringing in Omar Cooper Jr., an offensive line that I don't think is honestly as bad as people make it out to be, and like a couple other pieces that I kind of like. Like, I think there's a situation here where he could be at least sufficient.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think Geno is just tough because it's hard to find the line between why he was chucking the shit he was chucking. That's really really the bottom line. It's like, I feel like Geno's the kind of guy that gives off the energy like, I don't care, man. Like, I know this isn't my fault. If I feel like this is open and it gets picked off, like, whatever. And I think he also kind of understood, like, this is not where I'm going to be next year. This is not, going anywhere. I feel like part of me believes that Geno just, I don't want to say gave up on things, but he just wasn't putting his best foot forward. But on the other hand, too, it's like he really was making some inexcusable decisions that whether you're putting your best foot forward or not, you are giving a lot of people reason to believe that you just can't see the field the same way you were a couple of years ago. So it's tough to find like what really was going wrong, because while it was so bad, Geno Smith was not dealing with the most comfortable circumstances in Seattle. I mean, we're talking about much better weapons, sure, but he was under fire every drop back, and he was letting things rip into tight windows on the move to guys when he was like getting smoked constantly. So it's like you go from dealing with that sort of stress in Seattle very well, which was why so many people held you in such high regard, to dealing with it the completely opposite way. It's hard to tell what version you might get, but then again, it might just regress to the mean and we get somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. I agree his situation will be drastically better, just in terms of, the offensive line doesn't need to be that great to be wildly improved compared to the Raiders and what they had last year. Chip Kelly did a poor job. Their receiver room was just way too thin. I think the Jets are a better spot, but I'm also 100% on board with the idea. It's like he was just throwing nonsense out there. I think he's lost a lot athletically in terms of where he was even 3 years ago. So I see the vision on this one. I do. But I also I wonder if it's like maybe a little bit too late for a move like this for him. And it's just tough to know with any of these guys how they're going to progress because I didn't think Gino was somebody who would, throw a bunch of mindless turnovers, and then he did last year.
Yeah, I definitely don't think we're gonna get like the Mina Kimes of the world, like calling him top 10 again. Like I think we're far from that ever again. But
He got jinxed by all of that, and I was
He
all about it, too. I don't wanna
100%
make
did.
it out. Oh yeah, I mean, anytime somebody has like that much of the film watching Twitter community on their side, easy jinx. They've got no chance. Football gods are against them. So
that's what I'm like. I think we're so far down now that like even if he's like a 40% increase, which I think is pretty easy to do compared to how like awful it was. Like I know you don't want your quarterback to check out, but there have been times in my job where I'm like, I feel like I'm good at my job. But I just do not freaking want to be here, like, whatsoever. Like, I am not going to try that hard. So I low-key do kind of get it.
Yeah.
So for my bounce back candidate, I'll give you two options here. If we're talking purely off of like overall performance or general consensus opinion, Kyler Murray would be my pick, right? I mean, everybody is completely out on him. Somewhat reasonably so. I mean, his limitations are his limitations. He doesn't play well within structure. He is, a nice out of structure player, and he can run, and he's got a nice arm, and those things are good. But ultimately, like the Cardinals have been pathetic, and he's been, part of that. And maybe the limitations that come with a quarterback that small are just too much to deal with, right? On the other hand, I think he's going to a really good spot in Minnesota. I think he's going to have great weapons overall. He's going to have a great defense behind them. They're a team where it's like, man, if we even had the 20th best quarterback, we'd really have a shot to do something. I think Kyler could be that guy. But I don't necessarily think that he's going to stop being who Kyler Murray has been, right? So is that a bounce back or is that a change of scenery that's beneficial? And do we still get to a point in the season where like, okay, maybe they win, maybe everything goes right for the Vikings, they win like 14 games. And then they get to the playoffs and it's like your quarterback still can't reliably throw over the middle. And you're not able to get that going. And it's just too limiting. And you go up against a playoff defense that's super serious. Like you go up against, you're trying to run away from Myles Garrett now, I guess, or whatever. And it's a whole different ball game. That very much could happen. So I think he might have a bounce back in terms of public opinion. Although who knows? Maybe it's a situation where there's a big crowd that wants to see JJ McCarthy come in, and at the second he has like a bad game, they're like, bring in JJ. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but who knows? We'll see. We'll have to see how it plays out in the court of public opinion. In terms of guys who could bounce back from like an actual skill standpoint, the number one dude for me would be CJ Stroud, most likely. How bad he was the last couple of games under pressure was unbelievable. I mean, they just could not do anything with somebody who is that limiting, who is that quick to fade, who panicked that badly. And it's strange because Stroud wasn't always like that at all. I mean, my big question about him at Ohio State was like, how is he under pressure? Can he really deal with that stuff? Because it's kind of hard to teach somebody to be good under pressure, right? And then the Georgia game happens where they've got to let it fly and they don't end up winning, but Stroud was money and getting out of the pocket. And I mean, I felt like the entire draft analysis around him, or a lot of it was like, how real is the Georgia game? Because I think it's a great defense. Like there's no denying what you saw. But then, I don't know, it felt like for a lot of the season, Stroud like would not run at all. And like maybe it was just Ryan Day telling him not to do that because Ryan Day is kind of conservative when it comes to that type of stuff. And, Justin Fields used to be getting like banged up every single game. So I don't know. Maybe it was all that. But then he comes to the NFL, rookie year, it looks very good. It's like, oh, okay, the Georgia game was legit. He is that type of guy. And now we've gotten to a point, and not even all of last year, right? But just towards the end of it, man, it was ugly. I don't know how he's going to respond to that. I don't think that anybody can really know. It depends guy to guy. We know generally how players kind of can progress, and we know what a guy's tools are, so what their high-end capabilities might be. But I do know that the last time that I saw a guy look as out of their mind scared as Stroud was Bryce Young the first 2 weeks of his second season. I don't know if you guys remember this.
Oh, yes, I do.
He was unbelievable. I mean, that was the worst quarterback I've ever seen play the game, as far as I'm concerned. He could not complete a pass. He could not stand in there whatsoever. Every pressure completely sunk him. And he went and sat. Dalton came in, like, won a game. Dalton was, like, marginally better for a second. And then when Bryce came back, he was, I'm not going to say all better. I'm not going to say that Bryce is perfect. But is Bryce the level of QB where it feels like he's at least in control under pressure? I think his pressure to sack percentage was like sub 15%, which is actually pretty decent. And we saw many times, like against the Rams, a good defense with a physical pass rush, like he was able to make plays in a big time game. So it's definitely possible for guys to collect themselves and improve off of that. And if Stroud does come back and he's a little bit more reset, we've actually seen him be really good at it before. With Bryce, we hadn't even seen it. With Stroud, we've seen it. So I wonder if the story on him is like, okay, we're getting the old Stroud back. Not a guarantee, but certainly possible. And like the number one guy in terms of like, he was good, now he's bad with something in kind of a bizarre way. Let's see if he can get his old traits back.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not even like it was like just a situational like pressure moment in the playoffs. Like, we've seen him play well in the playoffs. Like against the Chiefs, like I thought that he was like genuinely impressive and one of the only reasons the game was even close about 2 years ago. So for it to just be an all of a sudden collapse, like I shared the same concerns. I watched him play against Northwestern in college, and I said this guy like has no chance of being good. He's soft, whatever. I was dramatic, but yeah, for some reason, everything just came back to him, and it's so much worse than it's ever been. Like, it almost felt worse than like pre-Rod Wave text to Bryce Young type of thing. Like, it was genuinely like some of the most timid quarterback play. Like,
at least Bryce is short. You're like, all right, I get what's going
Right.
on. With Stroud, it just makes no sense. He's just fading all the time. He's just letting bad habits take over. And what it is he's letting the bad habit of like fading in the pocket, which is like a bad habit you can get into when you're playing Madden, truly. And it's like if you don't have the physical, I mean, just like really the foot speed to go and like roll around and make a play like that, you're just going to end up taking a bunch of sacks. Like, you're not going to have good success with that strategy. It's really, really tough to get away with that at the NFL level. And Stroud really doesn't have that level of foot speed. He's not that level of athlete.
no, like Jalen Hurts is the only one out there that's like sleepwalking his way through the pocket, like drifting back to the right and gets away with it. But even then, like,
Right.
not always.
I think you make, at least as far as the Kyler point goes, you make a fair you have a fair perspective on it. It's like, is it really a bounce back season if we see him have the type of season we've seen from him before, just in different colors? Like, is that really a bounce back? It's tough to kind of decipher like what would define a bounce back for Kyler. And I think it also would be determined on the expectations for the Vikings, because as you mentioned, it's like part of it is what we expect the Vikings to be. They're a quarterback away. You know, if they had anybody, they'd be good. So if he's able to kind of do what Darnold did with the Vikings the first year, is that the year, is that kind of the bounce back, or is that just like the expectation that the Vikings are expecting to get back to with him, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a mix too. Like Daniel Jones, for instance, got in a better situation, but also is probably a little bit better himself. So maybe with Kyler, it's like he's not completely no longer Kyler Murray of old whatsoever, but he's marginally better working in the pocket, enough to feel like you can run a real offense, even if it is still pretty quick to go Kyler mode and roll out of the pocket. But then the guy he's tossing it deep to is, Justin Jefferson. It's like, all right, we'll get pretty decent results out of that overall. And we don't need to be world beaters because we have a great defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, as long as your quarterback isn't like fully known for being awful at throwing to Justin Jefferson, like even like there were games, even JJ McCarthy's best games, like the announcers wouldn't stop talking about how for some reason the throws to Justin Jefferson are just significantly worse. And I feel like if you're Kevin O'Connell, like, you can't live with any result if it doesn't end with Justin Jefferson being like the heart and soul of your offense. So I am confident that, like, I've seen Kyler Murray play a lot of football. He will feed his favorite weapon. We saw DeAndre Hopkins forever. And people complained about Marvin Harrison, but he had Trey McBride for that was receiving like record-setting numbers as a tight end. So I do feel pretty good about Kyler at least understanding the assignment of feeding the Hall of Fame wide receiver and getting it kind of accurately to him. And if he's not open, they have like other decent options. Like that's a good bounce back. And a bounce back for him, like his public perception was so bad. He was being like put in conversations with like Stalin. Like this will be much better if he's like a fringe top 20 quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
Which certainly is better than Stalin.
I would say.
Well, as far as regression candidates go, Matt, I'd love to hear who you feel like could be on the verge of just falling off the mountain.
I don't know. I was trying to think of like top guys I really believe that with. The only dude that like sticks out crazy to me would be Stafford because of age. But actually, he's already sort of at a point where he doesn't move that much. Like he's the least mobile quarterback that I think is really good, kind of by a long shot. And he makes it work. Maybe like the injuries get to him and his arm falls apart and like that could be the issue. But I don't really have any way to project that. I just think it's possible because of his age and his injury history, so it's not interesting. I wonder if Daniel Jones comes back and has issues, because with Jones, he's one of those guys that's like teetering on the line of like, can this guy deal with pressure at all? We're not even asking him to be good, but don't be like a complete mess and it doesn't work even a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And if he's coming back from injury and he loses some athleticism, the ways in which he can respond to pressure change and it becomes more difficult and you have to be quicker mentally to deal with that type of thing. I wonder if not only coming back of injury is just tough within itself, but the limitation it provides kind of hurts what already is his biggest weakness and can tip him over the edge. And maybe, you know, it was a small sample size of really good games from him last year anyway. But I still believe in the Colts situation overall, so I'm not sitting here like Jones is doomed. That's just something I'm watching for. I'm interested to hear who you guys think is going to fall off. And I'm going to go turn on the lights in my room so I don't go completely black.
Just slowly getting dark.
Okay. Austin, do you have one you feel passionate about?
Nothing passionate whatsoever. It was more just like a decline in situation for the guy that I had. But do you have one that you're a little more passionate about?
I would say passionate, and this is more of a team take also, and that's Jared Goff. Like, it already feels like last year. What are you making that face? You're making a face.
Because I know this is not about Goff. This is about Jameson and
No. I'm not.
Okay.
I swear, I'm not tying it into that. But we can. Right. I can happily tear that book back up.
I'll stab you, not have that.
But Jared Goff, just because I feel like the Lions are kind of trying to swim to keep their head above water. Like, I think that Dan Campbell quote after they blew that lead to San Francisco has stuck with me so much. It's like, so when he said something along the lines of, you know, they say that there's always next year, but there's not. And I think they've kind of, like, whether or not that is realistic, I think kind of saying that out loud let us in a little bit as far as where they kind of felt like they were truly at. And I think that's, maybe it's wrong to assume, but I think that's kind of sticking with them. And that energy of like just trying to stay afloat, trying to remain that team that they once were is really kind of persistent. And I've kind of said this before on an episode maybe a couple months ago, but last year was the year where, okay, you lost Ben Johnson, you lost Aaron Glenn, you're expecting some growing pains. Ben Johnson had to take over play calling. It's like, all right, clearly things are taking some time to get used to, but there were other issues as far as being able to just run the ball because of the injuries to the interior offensive line. Like their whole identity seemed to be gone to an extent where now we're looking at a relatively reformed offensive line, and it just feels like, while I thought Cade Mays was potentially one of the best signings of the offseason, I think it could be one of the best return on investment signings of the offseason. I still think you're relying on, between Cade to patch that up, They drafted the Blake Miller to play right tackle over, and then move Panay over to left. It's like they're doing these gymnastics with the foundation of their team that it could work, but it's patchwork. And with Jared Goff, we saw how limiting it really can get when the pressure, especially up the middle, is so overwhelming. And he got beat up pretty badly. And, he's not a young guy either necessarily. So I think this could be a year where not just Jared Goff hits a wall where it's like, all right, we don't have the offensive line we used to have. And now it's the quarterback and the limitations that he has just, they're not going to work with what we have. We can't make this work the same way we used to. And I think the ugly side of Jared Goff's athleticism could really turn its head. And in turn, that will kind of continue to sink the Lions a little bit further down in terms of competition in the NFC. So it's not even like Goff is going to be worse than he is. It's just going to be the ugly sides of him are going to show more because the Lions situation got worse.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't know if I view it in a totally different light than where they were last year. I think Miller could come in and be pretty decent in place of Decker. I agree Mays was good for Carolina last year. But are they going to be back to where they were in the NFC Championship season? Are they going to be back to where they were the year after before they just injuries totally robbed that season? Probably not. And Goff is... I mean, there's a lot of guys who are just dependent on the situation, but nobody is more like clearly dependent on the situation than Goff, where he's not like somebody who loves to go out of structure. So when the situation is good, they look like a superhero. Goff is very clearly a game manager who can do a lot in structure and can play with rhythm and can hit all the different throws. And there's really not that many guys who can do that. Right, so it may still rank him very highly as a QB overall, but yeah, like he still has his limitations and he's still very bad dealing with pressure. He just doesn't have a lot of answers in those situations. So if he's in more of those situations, I think he's not going to have the answers for it still. I don't think he's finding a new fold at 32 years old. No. And I didn't realize, but yeah, he set the record for sacks taken in a year for himself last season.
Yeah, I think the situation is almost entirely the same. Slight offensive line upgrades. Losing Monty will kind of sting because I don't think Pacheco's quite as good. But like, I don't know if it makes like a crazy difference. I think most of my issues were just defensively for the Lions, like rolling out the Legion of Whom that they had at one point. Like I still felt pretty good about their offense. Like looking at their schedule, like playing a fourth place schedule is going to be a breath of fresh air for them. Like looking at some of the teams that they get in a row, like they get like the Jets, Carolina, like Arizona, Miami, all in like a small span. Like they might feast like production wise. So Goff himself, like I don't think like we're going to see any kind of improvement from him whatsoever. But the just handing the ball off to any of those four weapons that they have, just doing your normal quarterback duties, I feel like you'll have some pretty nice production.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I maybe with the schedule, sure. But to me, it's like we're at a point with Goff where, okay, maybe this goes against the spirit of the question because it's supposed to be your regression. But at this point, it's like I'm good on the regular season stuff, man. Like, cool. You go through, tear up the numbers in the regular season, and you have a good touchdown interception ratio, a good completion percentage. You're throwing to a couple guys with some of the most sure hands in the league, sure. Like, but when push comes to shove and you got to make a couple big plays under pressure at the end of the season, it's like, well, that's not regression. I just don't see a universe where it's, I guess, better. But that's once again not the question. So, but I do still think, generally speaking, the Lions are slowly just trekking down the wrong side of the hill, and this year is just going to be another example of that.
Yeah, I can see it. You know, mine's not quite as passionate, and mine's more about like a public perception one than an actual production based one. But I have Sam Darnold as mine, and I think a majority of it is just riding the high of the Seahawks' success. Like I think that it's very clear that he did a very good job in Minnesota in 2024, and then he ran a pretty efficient offense in Seattle. But even like production wise, like 25 passing touchdowns to 14 interceptions. Like I don't think that was overly impressive. So like I'm not going to say that I think that he's going to have a production fall off. In fact, it might even be better. But riding the post Super Bowl win, there's a lot of people that have him like pretty firmly top 12. I've seen a lot of top 10 rankings because of the Super Bowl win and because the team was so good. But I feel like losing such a good offensive mind in Kubiak, losing Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet's still hurt, like, and they didn't really bring in anything else. Like Jadarian Price is cool, but I feel like he's like could only beat half of what Ken Walker was.
It would be tough. They're bringing him in almost exclusively as like, we have to replace this rushing talent that we lost, right?
Yeah.
And Kenneth Walker's already so good. I really like Price. I think he's a great player. I think he's really, really cool. I think the numbers kind of underestimate him just because tore his Achilles and then was sitting behind the top 5 running back pick for his entire career. It's just a strange circumstance. But I agree with you. And Kubiak especially. Darnold also has some pressure issues. Just one of those guys. He's got more tools than Goff, but every time he's pressured, you don't really feel like something good is about to happen. You're always sort of like holding your breath. And, you know, his pressure to sack wasn't that bad last year, I'm sure. And, you know, the results certainly could have been worse, but he is kind of a play action merchant a little bit. Like he really shined in those situations, and Kubiak was so good at setting those up. I wonder if Seattle can keep that up and you don't see a little bit of a dip.
Yeah, I think the thing with Darnold, like I was very big for a while on until I see Darnold in that moment at the end of the season kind of pull his weight and not make a disastrous decision or two, then I'll be on board. I don't think I'm top 10 on board at all, but I do want to give him some credit because that throw he made to JSN at the end of the game that was layered to the right sideline. That was one of the best throws of the season given the circumstances, and that was one of those nails throws that a true top 10 quarterback is making in that.
Well, that's
moment.
the thing. You can see why at one point he was supposed to be the first overall pick and why he was taken third. He's got an incredibly talented arm. And he's still very aggressive in spite of the mistakes. So you can get great moments like that, even when, you know, it's not play action and he's in the pocket or whatever. And the deep accuracy last year was obviously really good. Helps to have JSN, certainly. Helps to have a run-heavy offense that kind of sets up those shots well, but still.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that offense looks like, because I was of the opinion that I thought Seattle kind of had an iffy draft as far as, like, supplementing talent, and the way I described it was it felt like they just kind of, you know, they won the Super Bowl and they're just trying to remain what they were versus trying to continue to build and continue to get better. Like, yeah, the Price pick was cool. I know they improved a bunch. They turn like 4 picks into 8 or something was what all the Seattle fans were telling me. It's like, yeah, that's great. But from like a roster standpoint, like seeing how the Eagles have built their way through and how the Chiefs have had sustained success, I didn't get that same feel from Seattle's offseason for what they had brought in and the prospects they chose to run with. So I don't know. That's a completely different can of worms. But Sam Darnold will be very, very fascinating for this year because of primarily the change in play callers. I think that's obviously the biggest change here that will affect him. But anyway, let's move into this category. I think can be fun because I have no clue what names could come up for this. And this is the quarterback that needs a chance / needs one more chance. And Austin, I want to know who you have for this one.
Dude, sometimes when I watch Texans games, I just think that we're just put Davis Mills in. Please just put Davis Mills in, because I've seen this man play some football in some recent years, and I kind of like what I see. And like we're not talking about like a top 15 quarterback here, but like I think this is a guy that can be a Jacoby Brissett and come in for like a year or two stretch and play like some decent football and like get your good receiver the football. But especially in these games where Stroud is putting up like pre-Rod Wave Bryce Young numbers, like genuinely put the guy in.
It was that bad.
I think Mills can be that tier. I don't think it's a crazy bar, you know, like Tanner McKee is somebody that I thought got the ball out quick when I saw him play for the Eagles, that it was in that like same grouping. This was a tough category for me. Honestly, my takeaway was like most quarterbacks are getting the chance that they need. Most of the time, I know it's popular right now to say that everybody deserves more time to develop and whatnot. And there's truth to that. Like, guys can clearly get better. But at the same time, I don't know if there's that many dudes where I'm like, he just didn't get an opportunity. The only one that came to mind to me was Anthony Richardson, honestly. But the thing is I don't even really have that much faith in Richardson just with the accuracy issues. I just think he got such a brutal break on coming out of college 1 year. I have no reps, and then I'm in a situation where the Colts are trying to win now, and I'm getting injured, and now there's no time for me to go in there and be bad. I mean, I don't even think he has. Does he have 500 career passing attempts? I don't even think so, and I think he might have 500 post high school passing attempts. So yeah. I just think like it's tough to be good when you've had that few reps. It's tough to get any better, and it's tough to have a team buy in. And I guess there's a few teams like, I don't know, what are the Browns doing this year at quarterback? Anything more interesting than just rolling with Anthony Richardson for as many games as he could stay healthy? Or like if you're the Packers, there were rumors there, I'm like, oh, that'd be the perfect backup spot. Because I thought Willis was really, really rough in Tennessee the few games that he got. God, he took a million sacks. Like, he couldn't help himself. And then he looked pretty good for the Packers. Maybe another opportunity is just like a fresh place to go be a backup and kind of chill for a while, and who knows how long that takes. But I'm not like signing my name to Anthony Richardson's got it coming. I'm not Theo Ash. You should have asked him about that.
That same thought went through my head with Will Levis. I was like, he's obviously older and isn't quite like the same freak. But I was like, there's a world where somebody could get it right. Not me, like not my team, but like somebody.
Yeah, I don't want my team to do that at all. You know, Will is he's got the arm talent. He's just another one of those dudes where I think he stands in there and takes too many hits and has a tendency to make really back-breaking plays. Some guys just have that gene. It's not even every dude who like throws a lot of turnovers or whatever, like takes a bunch of sacks. But some guys are just more prone to like the horrifying negative plays in a way that other guys aren't, even if they overall are still fine, when it comes to throwing picks or whatever. Levis pushes both envelopes there a little bit, of course, but he really, really takes the terrifying plays to the next level.
Yeah, it's the worst. Mm-hmm. No one beats him. Yeah, he's unrivaled there. He's the best of what he does, 100%.
That was fun. That was a fun period of time when we got a new Will Levis screenshot basically every week. That was one of the funniest things to look forward to. But I want to get your guys' opinion on what we saw in like a 1.5 game sample size of Riley Leonard. Because that was like wildly fascinating. How is this kid that I thought was one of the worst passers coming out of college stepping in for Indianapolis in a time of desperate need at the end of the season and not looking awful? He played better football against the Texans defense than a long list of some very solid NFL quarterbacks. He took them all the way to the end of the game. Like, they damn near beat Houston, and they were going back and forth, trading blows all game. He finished this game with a stat line of, what was that number? He finished, scroll all the way back up, with a 62% completion percentage. He threw for 270, 2 touchdowns, and ran a touchdown, and had a pick. And I think he got strip sacked once. But nonetheless, it's like, how many quarterbacks could you look at? Like, Josh Allen is a perfect example, regardless of the circumstances. Play against the Texans defense and look completely pedestrian. He looks like a dumbed down version of himself. Then you throw in, small Riley Leonard, this bullish, tough running quarterback, and it's like he throws for damn near 300 against the Houston defense. I found that very fascinating, because it's like, if he is healthy to finish out the season instead of having to resort to Phillip Rivers, I think they make the playoffs. I think they beat some of the teams that Rivers lost to. Not because Rivers was bad necessarily, but they're better with Leonard.
Rivers, bless his heart. How about, man?
He did
It
his
was
best.
awesome to watch him in there, but good God. I watched this game, but I haven't looked at it in months and months, and I didn't watch the all 22 of it. So honestly, I feel like I can't really speak entirely to Leonard's performance. I remember him in the national title because I've gone back and watched that game several times, and I remember him being like a true negative in terms of his
Yes.
ball placement. And
Yes.
obviously they were able to build a lot of the rushing game around him. And on that first drive, if you remember, he was really huffing and puffing, and they took like 7 minutes to eke their way down the field. But like certainly you get a rushing aspect with Leonard that you don't with 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, and I'd rather have that than roll out there with Phillip. As much as he did put up an honorable performance several times and was fun to watch, but I don't know if I've seen enough of Leonard to have a strong feeling on whether or not he's like somebody who should get a real look from like some team that I don't know is kind of doing nothing at quarterback, which there's
Yeah.
always 3 or 4 of.
Yeah, same bucket. Like I watched it. Like I remember, like I was on Red Zone seeing Riley Leonard's name like way too often, like in a good way. So I kind of rechecked it out, like watched it on YouTube a little bit. But yeah, I didn't like fully break down his game. But I can only speak to like the Riley Leonard I watched in college, and I was like, I think this is like the worst passer I've ever seen in my life. That's getting any kind of like draft traction, and like
I couldn't
just-
believe he got
It was
drafted. To be
terrible.
completely
He
honest
was
with
horrible.
you,
no, I remember
and not
one
to
of
say
his
that he wasn't
like,
good in that game, and I'll put my hand
Yeah.
up, but he was like part of the problem for Notre Dame in the national title.
Yeah, I remember thinking my main takeaway from the Riley Leonard like Colts game though was Alec Pierce just going like stupid. Like I remember there was like a coverage breakdown where he had like a 60+ yard touchdown, like 30 yards of separation, and then like another one in the red zone where he got open pretty well open, where like it was kind of like a handoff downfield. So like I don't know, like I don't know of any like crazy throws or reads or plays that Riley made off the top of my head. But speaking of the college player, yeah, I'm gonna bet on what I saw for like since like the Duke days.
Yeah, I mean that was like that championship game was one of the worst. Like I don't watch college football as much as you guys do, but I tune into the playoffs every year, and especially the national championship. And my God, like some of the things he was getting away with were just they made me want to throw up. Like he threw a pass to the goal line that I think there was a pass interference. It was in double coverage, and they get the flag and they get it down at the 1 and he runs it in. It's like the fact that he even gets away with attempting that pass, let alone scoring on an ensuing play is like holy shit, man. But I don't know. That's exactly why I was like, how is this player throwing for nearly 300 against any version of a Houston Texans defense? So I found that pretty fascinating, just given the way that the season wound down for Indianapolis. But obviously no one's watching too much Riley Leonard these days, so it's kind of tough.
It's on purpose.
It's on purpose. That's not very nice. Well, let's look at some quarterbacks that we feel like might deserve a little bit of love that more than like the general public might be giving them. Matt, do you have a guy that you feel like can fit under the underrated umbrella?
Jordan Love would be somebody that I would select for this. Love gets a bad rap because he is one of those guys who's a little meatball prone, we'll call it, right? Obviously, the almost interception he had against the Panthers, the Mike Jackson drop, that really wasn't that bad. He was scramble drill. He thought his receiver. But here's the thing. Like, I won't lie. When he did that versus the Panthers, my Panthers, like I contributed to that discourse that has now maybe slightly caused him to be underrated. Just in general, I think between him being a little bit older when he came in and him being, he's very talented, but he's not like some crazy out of structure guy. I just don't think he has like the crazy high end, like sort of Caleb Williams-esque plays that we'll call him or whatever, the Josh Allen plays that would get him credit for that. And then the bad plays I think are really, really highlighted. And I think being in the NFC North, if you're a team there and you make a mistake, you got three other fan bases who are really, really gunning to make a big point out of it. But the reality with Jordan Love is he's got an incredibly talented arm, both in terms of power and arm angle, but also accuracy too. He is willing to attempt very difficult throws, and he can hit them. He can hit them off platform. And while he isn't somebody who's crazy out of structure, he is a fine athlete who does a very good job of dealing with pressure. So he has a very low sack percentage. He doesn't take a ton of negative plays, and he only threw 6 interceptions last year, which is a very good number, although I believe he had favorable interception luck overall. Obviously, with the Mike Jackson drop being one of them. So I just think in general, Love is a guy who you tune in. I remember at the end of, I forget which Bears game, but he's driving down the field and they had almost no time, and he still can get a shot to the end zone that's about a foot away from Christian Watson, and you're like, dang, man, that's one of those drives where most guys just can't put him in position, and he's willing to make those type of throws. And the Packers' passing offense has been very efficient with him. It was great last year overall, and he hasn't really been working with world-beating receivers either. I know Willis came in and did pretty good too, so that probably takes away some of it. But I have Love in my top 10 quarterbacks solidly. I think he's really, really good.
Yeah, I used to be much more of the leader of the Jordan Love is overrated hate train, but the dust has settled, especially after watching the end of last year. And even though they lost in the playoffs, I thought that that was one of the better games I've actually watched him play. And even as a long time Love hater, I was trying to convince myself that the loss was still his fault, and they keep being down on him. But he played really well, especially one of the better first halves of any quarterback this year. And the second half, you can blame it on him, you can blame it on LaFleur, whoever you want. They lost. It is what it is, but we saw some really good football from him. And I feel like Jordan Love kind of does a lot of the same stuff every year, where there is a lot of the bonehead plays, but you're also getting 25% of the best throws of the year. A lot of them are going to belong to him because the arm is just so stupid, and he can move.
Yeah. I
he's
mean,
a good
truly, he makes the boneheaded plays, but overall, from if we don't care about our negative plays getting too many views on TikTok or something, he just doesn't take a lot of negative plays. He's overall very accurate, and his high-end throws are really good, and he can deal with pressure. There's just not many quarterbacks I can say that about at all. I'm not saying that he's totally immune to being in a bad situation if something were to happen to the Packers or he were to get moved like the absolute top tier guys are, of course. But are there 10 better than him? I really, really don't think so.
Oh, man. I don't know. I think that last game of the season last year is just enough for me to agree. But he's lucky he had it. He's lucky that final drive happened, and you can blame Christian Watson for kind of stopping running. That was some discourse going on. It's did Christian Watson slow down or whatever the case may be? But he's lucky that happened, honestly, because I feel like throughout the course of the season, tell me how many games you remember where the Packers defense was just suppressing the opposing offense, suffocating them for quarter after quarter, and it's still a 10-point game, a 13-point game. The Commanders game early on is one I remember back to. It's Jaden Daniels and the Commanders couldn't get anything moving. And while the Packers did end up winning by, I think, more than one possession, it just felt like the Commanders hung around for a while. They got opportunities that made it seem like there was a chance for them to get back in the game. And it's what is Jordan Love and this Green Bay offense doing? There's just no put this team into the ground mentality. The Browns game is another example of that, where they just struggle to pull away from a team that they are significantly better than, regardless of the defense they're playing against. It's at some point, your offense has to be able to string a drive or two together to put up points over time, because a team like the Browns weren't scoring. And to me, Jordan Love he's such an interesting study, because now I'm at a point in my mind with him where it's LaFleur seems to keep the training wheels on, primarily, be a run-heavy team, run it through, if Josh Jacobs is even in the NFL next year, to keep it through him. And it's tough because I feel like Love is a quarterback that needs to at this point, be throwing at a high volume to get into rhythm. He needs to have a chance to get into a hot streak. And when when it's run, and then throw on third down, and then it's, turnover, run, throw, it's like, it's tough for him to kind of catch a hot hand. And then you find yourself in these situations where he gets under pressure and he makes the bozo mistake. And then that is what gets a majority of the attention. But it's like, I think back to, for example, I can't remember who it was against, but there was a throw to Tucker Kraft that like hung in the air that he just like beat the defensive back to, because it was just literally hawked up in the air like a punt, and the DB just did not track it at all. Tucker Kraft caught it, and he runs for like 30 yards. The Mike Jackson thing is a good example. I think the pick against the Browns was just complete panic. It's just like I said, if it weren't for that last drive at the end of last season, it's like, how many moments can you point to where you're like, Jordan Love looked completely composed when put on the spot? I feel like there is less than more. And the Cowboys game is another example. While he went toe-to-toe with a very high-powered offense, the way that game ended was so bad. Like, you can blame LaFleur for some of that dysfunction, but he looked out of sorts. They didn't know how much time was on the clock. It just was a collection of just moments throughout the year where it didn't seem like he had his shit together in some of the biggest spots. And it's like, man, if that defense stayed healthy, then maybe they could have gotten them farther. But I'm not sure if, like, throughout the postseason, we would have been able to see Jordan Love get put in those moments and for him to continue answering the bell as they got deeper into the postseason. So it's like, I'm not entirely sold on how he handles big game pressure or big moment pressure versus like statistical, like drop back pressure.
Yeah, I think there's room for them to improve on these close games. I mean, they didn't have a good one-score record last year, and those things can be high variance, but it certainly didn't seem like the Packers were closing those ones out the way that we should. So I guess we'll kind of have to see if they can run it back here with hopefully Kraft and Parsons getting back to 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about let's get into it. Austin, did you have a quarterback that you felt like fit this?
Yeah, I feel like even by myself for a while, but like I feel like I've always been too low on Bo Nix, and I feel like a lot of people are lower on Bo Nix than I feel like they should be, at least from a respect perspective. Like when people talk about Bo Nix, a lot of times he's put into conversations of like some not very good quarterbacks, and I feel like Bo Nix is at least like pretty good, enough to where he can produce with, in my opinion, one of like the lesser collections of weapons in the league. And there's the argument that he's carried by his defense, but like he's put up some pretty solid production. I think he's played pretty well in some pretty big games. To only like be in his coming into his third year and look pretty composed, look pretty poised. Now finally has Jalen Waddle, who's his best weapon yet. Like I think that people have been considerably too low on Bo Nix.
I think he had a very good game. I think he had a pretty good game against the Bills. He definitely had some drops that went against him. His receiver room hasn't been crazy, but he's been behind a very good offensive line. I think he's in a more favorable offense that doesn't ask him to do a crazy amount. He's a little quick to still get out of the pocket, I would say. It does lead to him not taking a ton of sacks, which is ultimately important. I weight that super heavily. But I actually think that Bo Nix is pretty decently rated. I mean, where would you see him among quarterbacks? Like if you had to put a number on it, maybe that's a tough question.
Because we did a top 16 and he wasn't on mine, but he wasn't far off of it.
I wouldn't say he's far off of mine. I guess I wonder where people overall rank him, because I think like somewhere in like the later teens is probably about where he would land on consensus, but maybe I'm way off on that.
I mean, I'm also in a lot of circles where like I just like you just see so much hate for quarterbacks if they're not in that like top 7, top 6. So I've seen only more Bo Nix hate than appreciation outside of any Denver fan, if you look at enough comments about him. So maybe like if you're just talking to like actually like NFL circles, they might like him more than who I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think I think people really aren't buying that. Frankly, after the Hurts stuff and how that all played out last offseason, I think people are going to be slower to buy it. Not to even be like super negative about Hurts, but I mean, if we're talking about Twitter narratives and the way that that shit went down, it was completely ridiculous, right? So we spent the entire offseason, like a month, it never could go away, talking about whether or not Hurts is a top 5 quarterback.
Oh my
And the whole
god.
point being made is about like, well, situation is really not that important, right? You either get it done or you don't. And he had a big game in the Super Bowl. And I think a lot of that was built off this idea that, well, Hurts is going to keep being in a good situation, so we won't really see. The roster is going to continue to be good, and Howie Roseman's good. And they screwed up the hire, and then, I mean, by the end of week one, it was literally like, well, Petula sucks, so what are you going to do? Right?
Brian
And
Johnson
I'm not the
sucks.
lowest.
Petula
I'm not the
sucks.
lowest guy on Hurts. But I think after people have seen that, they're a little so recently they're a little less quick to buy into like, well, Knicks had this good game that he won, and also Knicks did less in the playoffs than Hurts. Right, Hurts went and balled out in the Super Bowl. Knicks had a pretty good game and then unfortunately got hurt. I'd say I'm interested in Knicks. I thought that he looked better. He's a little on the old side for how short he's been in the NFL, so maybe like things cap out here pretty quickly. But at the same time, I think his situation isn't getting any worse. I think Waddle will be a nice add. And I think another year, depending on the ankle, we'll see. If you take away his mobility, I'm really, really worried about him. He is somebody
Yeah.
who ultimately relies on getting out of the pocket all the time. So if there's any sort of delay with that, I think it could get bad where he's taking a bunch of sacks, just because of his play style. But yeah, I don't think I'm crazy low on Knicks. I could agree that he's maybe a little bit underrated if people are being too negative.
What about what Jordan Love's situation looks like is well, not that you're saying it's worse, but I guess they're comparable to me. Like the quarterbacks are much different. But I feel like if anything, Bo Nix is dealing with a lot more. I think he does deal with more pressure. The run game just was not up to par. I think he's dealing with weapons that are underwhelming, that don't answer the bell as much as maybe he was getting from the Green Bay set. The LaFleur play calling to the Peyton play calling, that's apples to apples. But ultimately, like, outside of maybe pocket management, like, what does Jordan Love do that much better on a down-to-down basis than Love? There's pocket management, and there's maybe some processing stuff that Knicks is behind the eight ball on. But otherwise, I think Knicks has, like, pretty decent arm. Like, Knicks has a cannon. He can fit some pretty tight footballs up the seam. He's thrown some pretty crazy balls on the move. He might be a little itchy to get out, but as far as what you're getting from a game-to-game product, I'm not sure I'm convinced that, like, Jordan Love should be a top 10 lock, whereas Bo Nix is, like, outside the top 16, maybe bordering top 20. Because really, what about both of them schematically and stylistically is really that much different or better? Like, what is it?
Jordan Love has a significantly more talented arm. I don't even think it's close. Quite
I think
frankly.
it's better, but significantly. Bo Nix has a
Significantly.
Bo
I
Nix
would
is a
say it's
rocket.
significantly. I'd say it's significantly better. I'd say he tries significantly more difficult throws. I know that Knicks, he hit a really nice seam shot against the Bills. I can picture that, and that was a good throw. But the consistency to which Love will attempt and make very high level throws, especially over the middle, is on another level. He'll make throws fading. I think his pocket management is in a completely different stratosphere.
That definitely
I think
is.
Knicks. Again, I kind of think that this style of ball, getting out of the pocket quickly and just never ever taking sacks and just let be quick to at least get out and throw it away and run. That's good. It's better than sitting in the pocket and taking sacks. That's for damn sure. But also, I think it can't always be your answer against every single defense. And on top of that, like, I would say I would take the Broncos offensive line over the Packers offensive line. I'd take the Packers receivers last year over the Broncos receivers. But Jordan Love also led, I think, second in EPA passing offense compared to Knicks, who I would guess is around average. So I do think they're significantly different. And I think the way that Love is avoiding pressure is a little bit more high ceiling, I'll say. It's not just getting out early and kind of bailing from pockets all the time. It's standing in pockets and making difficult throws and asking the defense to continue to cover downfield later into reps.
Well, it's like also Bo Nix though. Like as far as EPA goes, like the volume, the sheer volume of dropbacks is staggering. Like, but granted, Bo Nix played a couple more games, but he had 680 dropbacks to Jordan Love's 493. He had 612 attempts to Jordan Love's 439. Like, I think to some capacity, the EPA numbers are heavily influenced by the volume, but also just by the engine of who's the offense running through. And I think there's no questioning, like, it was Josh Jacobs first. The ball's going to Josh Jacobs first, and then we'll give the ball to Jordan Love. Or it's like the Broncos, as much as they tried to be that sort of offense, it really became, hey, Bo, figure this out. Hey, Bo, scramble for this first down on third down. And he was doing a lot of that sort of playmaking that it's like, to some extent, sure, maybe over the long term, you're hoping that gets better. But right now, I feel like there isn't. I'm not saying Love is worse. I want to make that clear. I'm saying I don't think there's such a staggering difference in placement is kind of what I'm getting at.
Well, I'm talking EPA. I'm talking like per play, right? And I think that the Broncos run a lot more short game stuff. I'm pretty sure that, like in terms of average depth of target, Nix would be significantly lower than Jordan Love, who is one of the more deep throwers in the NFL. And then on top of that, Love also missed a couple of games, which probably contributes to the gap. So I really don't think the Broncos are going out there and saying, like, Bo, figure it out in sort of a Josh Allen sense. I think a lot of the times he breaks structure before he really needs to, and it can look that way. Again, I don't think Bo is bad, but I do think Jordan Love is. Not only I rank him significantly higher, but I think Love is out of that sort of wide tier that I talked about earlier, whereas I would say, as it stands right now, Nix might have better results next year, and I'm open to him continuing to get better, but I think he's well within that.
So is Nix outside your top 20, did you say?
No, he's within my top 20. He would be –
that's fine.
I did 16, and I had Stroud and Nix as like my first couple off. Stroud, I didn't know how to place. I really didn't, because like I both believe if he is, then Stroud could very much move to like 12. If he gets even back to that baseline level, I feel decent about it. And then if he builds off of what he's done before, like he can easily make himself a top 10 quarterback. I've had him in my top 10 before. But based off of what we saw last year, let me see it again. I guess that's kind of cheating, but let me see it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the sheer fact that this is developing in my head, I want to just list the numbers between Nix and Love. This is becoming fascinating to me.
Throw your list out there.
Nix played 17 games. Love played 15. I mentioned the dropback numbers, 680 to 493. Yards per attempt, Love 7.7, Nix 6.4. The ADOT, 9.2 to just 8 in favor of Love. Nix had 37 charted drops by PFF. Love had 18. And Bo Nix had 218 pressures. Love had 192. Nix had a 10% pressure to sack percentage, and Love had basically 11%. So it's like we're looking. It might come from different sources of sack evasion and maybe like ADOT and stuff, but I don't know. I just don't see anything that's saying there should be such a staggering difference. That's all my based on these numbers, based on what I see down to down, I think you're getting a little bit of a higher ceiling with some of the stuff Nix can do playmaking wise. And watching Josh Allen every week, it's like, yeah, as much as you want to believe that you can't do it all the time, and no, Nix isn't Josh Allen, but you can live off of it a bit longer than I think you're kind of giving it credit for. Like you can do it if you're athletic enough. Nix is athletic enough. Nix is a pretty crazy athlete, I would say, for the quarterback position.
Yeah, the ankle is going to be a huge factor.
That's worrisome.
And I believe in modern medicine. Like, I'm confident that he could get back to, especially being 26 years old. Like, it's not like he's like Samaje Perine age with like trying to rehab a lower body injury and run on it. Like, I still think that even if he's back to 90% of the athlete he was, I mean, he was a top percentile athlete at the position. So even if he drops a couple spots in the rankings, I don't think his overall play is going to get too much worse, especially as he gets older and becomes a better passer. And adding Waddle, like, I think you're going to see Knicks ranked in the top 16, top 15 at the end of next year. And part of my listing is more of a projection for next year than it was like a reflection of last year. So I could definitely see it. Like, I still think with Jordan Love, just the overall ability, and I'm not even talking about results necessarily, I'm just kind of more talking about the ability of the player and the arm that he has. And it's not necessarily the distance that they can throw with the arm strength. Like, I think that's actually semi-comparable, but it's just like the overall buckets that he can get that I don't think Bo Nix can get. Whether that be the touch that he puts on it, or the accuracy, or just the things that he does attempt. Like, those are kind of more what gives him the better arm listing rather than just pure distance on throws.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, we're uncorking the list conversation. We might as well just get into it. I would love to hear, Austin, where you have everybody ranked. Just go rip down your top 16, and we'll talk about the elephants.
Okay. Well, I got Josh Allen actually as my 1. I have Patrick Mahomes still behind him at 2. Joe Burrow 3. Matt Stafford 4. Lamar 5. Drake May with A.J. Brown number 6. Herbert 7. Dak Prescott 8. I have Jaden Daniels 9. I have Caleb Williams 10. Jordan Love 11. Trevor Lawrence 12. Jared Goff 13. Baker 14. Jalen Hurts 15. And Brock Purdy made it at 16. With Bo Nix actually at my 17, if we were to do that.
I'd say Burrow at 3 is probably the one I disagree with the most.
Well, I'm a Bengals fan, so like,
right.
it's gonna happen.
Outside of that, I think that's not too crazy off my list. I have a couple of guys in a couple of different spots, I guess. But that's everybody. I had Goff instead of Baker, and then that would be the 16 that I've got at least.
Yeah. I had Goff at 13, which is like...
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Then who are we missing? Because you have Purdy, you have Hurts.
Yeah.
Who I still have up there.
I don't know.
You don't have Darnold then.
No, Darnold was right. But actually, Darnold might have been my 17. I didn't list him, but yeah, Darnold would probably be around there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so he's outside your top 16 then. You might get in trouble for that one.
Maybe, but like... production wise, and just what I think that he's going to do next year. Like, he didn't put up top 15 production to me, and I don't think he's going to next year. So Super Bowl champion, like, that's awesome. I love Darnold. Like, he's one of my favorites in the league. But if I'm drafting 16 quarterbacks, like, for my own team, I don't think that I would take him over most of these guys.
Fair enough. You want to rip through mine?
Yeah,
go ahead.
All right, Mahomes at 1 still. Allen at 2, Lamar at 3, Herbert at 4, May at 5, Burrow at 6, Stafford at 7, Dak at 8, Love at 9, Williams at 10. Then it goes Lawrence 11, 12 Jaden Daniels, 13 Sam Darnold, 14 Goff, 15 Purdy, 16 Hurts. We've done our top 10 on Stay Hot. I have a couple of guys flipped from that one, so I don't know if anybody is saying I'm inconsistent. Hopefully not, but
I am. Like, my ranking literally changes probably every single time I do it.
It's tough, especially with guys in the same tier. It's like what to weight, right? You
Right.
think they're the same guy, but it's like, well, what's more important necessarily? Especially after Jaden Daniels, I think is the tier break where, okay, like a Purdy versus Goff, right? Purdy is this guy who gets out of structure. And he's a gamer, and like he's pretty good at it, but he's also in like, a favorable situation where Mac Jones steps in and gets good production, and he's got a tendency to throw like, a lot of interceptions, whereas Goff is like, can't deal with the pressure in that same way, but he's much more of like a pocket passer and can really hit all the throws and probably has a little bit bigger of an arm. So, which one of those things do you want, right? That's the question. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident you guys have talked about the whole Herbert ranking ad nauseum, and I've been in a very similar bucket where it's like, it's the ability. It's not the playoff results. It's just the ability of the football player is so unreal. I think this last playoff performance was the first time I was like, okay, maybe I can finally drop him down.
It wasn't
a couple
good.
spots.
But a lot of times guys end up breaking out of that, truly.
Yeah.
And I just think so many guys at the top have also had their fair share of moments. I mean, Lamar, I love, but he's got, bad interception against the Chiefs in the championship game. That loss wasn't all on him, of course, but it wasn't a great performance. Allen, somebody who I consider to be among my top dudes if I need something to happen, right? And it's late in the game, because I know you guys know that. Allen would be very high up for me. He also had just about the dumbest play he definitely had the dumbest play of the season last year. I mean, really, that fumble goes down into, the Colts trick play punt category.
I've been on record saying that's an underrated blunder in the grand scope of NFL history. I feel like it was talked about a lot after it happened, but it's kind of getting forgotten about. But I feel like in terms of individual play blunders and how much they impacted the result of a big game, I don't know how that doesn't rank top 10 in history. It has to. How does it not? A game that is impacted by a 3-point swing near the end, and a fumble that literally doesn't need to happen. There was nothing. That's as close to the refs fucking you over as it gets without the refs fucking you over. That's how in control it was.
Mm-hmm. It was a bad. It really is made by the situation there too. It just makes no sense what the hell he was going for in any way, shape, or form. There's been plays that are dumber than that, right? But it's pretty dumb, and it's in a playoff game, and then losing by 3 is particularly.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yes, that's the bad part. Yes, no one would remember if they lost by 10 or that there was a touchdown that made it a difference, but it was literally 3 points.
Yeah, and the Brandon Cooks getting the ball ripped out of his mitts. Times.
Yeah, that takes over a lot of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was tough. They were moving the ball well that game too, and they had 5 turnovers. How many were really on Allen? I'd say 2. I'd say that fumble, and he hung a post really horribly on one of them. But another one was Benito was supposed to get chipped and didn't. So he thought he was cool from that side, and then he got strip sacked, which been there. And then Cook had the fumble, and then Cooks had the ball ripped away, which was an underthrow, but not bad enough for where it should have been an interception. So
no. I just think the fact that there were Bills fans blaming the play calling for why are you even trotting them out there to try for anything? It's it doesn't matter why they were or not. There's no circumstance where he should have been dropping that football. There's none. It doesn't matter what you're going out there trying to do. That's the only thing you can't do. I think that is an underrated play in the grand scheme of NFL history. Because who knows? You beat the Broncos. I feel pretty strongly that you beat the Patriots after, the way they beat them in the regular season was pretty resilient the second time around. You're down 21-3, and then you're able to surge back against a team that had been pretty good in those situations. The Patriots over the course of the year really weren't known to be chokers per se, because they were always playing ahead and they always did a good job of holding a lead. So we had kind of found a way to crack the code against them once. And even the first time around, it took a pretty ridiculous Drake May performance to pull that out. So I think you come away with a win against the Patriots, and you're in the Super Bowl. So
he did ball out in that first one. He had that play where he was getting tackled and threw it.
I was at that game too, man. Fucking unbelievable. That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. Stephon Diggs is doing jumping jacks on the sideline during the anthem. I'm like, this is literally his Super Bowl. This is his moment. And he killed us. It was so awful to watch, just the way that all broke up, and then he comes back here and then he goes for 150 or 10 and 150, and we can't stop him. It's are you serious, man? you can't write this shit, I swear to God. But my top 16 goes as follows, and there's a couple things that I find different that I want to address. So my 1 is also Mahomes. I feel like you got to beat him before you can go above him. So I got Mahomes over Allen at 2. Lamar I have at 3 still. I have Burrow at 4. Stafford at 5. I have Dak at 6. 7 I have Herbert. 8 I have Caleb. 9 I have Drake. 10 I have Trevor. 11 is Jaden. 12 is Love. 13 is Darnold, 14 Baker, 15 Nix, 16 Stroud. And
Okay.
the Caleb and Drake conversation is the one that I'm interested by, because it's like maybe right now you feel comfortable saying you would trust Drake May to be the long-term option, but it feels like, just given the circumstances we're looking at with these quarterbacks and having Ben Johnson trending, having Caleb Williams trend the way he is with Ben Johnson, it's like, would you really suggest that over the course of next year even, or the year after that, that Caleb Williams isn't going to surpass him just because of the athlete he is, and maybe even lap him? Like, I think Drake May is very good. I think he's extremely good under pressure, and he does a lot of things that are very impressive for a young player. But I think once, like, he's young kind of goes away, it's like, okay, he's just a really good quarterback. But for Caleb Williams, with the tools that he has, it's like in a few years, we're still going to be oohing and eyeing, and assumingly he figures out the ridiculous misses, then what really is Drake May going to be doing better than Caleb Williams on this trajectory? I don't know.
Well, for me, it's just that he is hitting those, like, a lot more consistently. Like, and with Caleb, like, when you talk about the high flashes, like, he dominates that field. Like, he probably had the most highlight reel tape, like, of any quarterback last year. But it was also, like, you had games of sub 50% completion percentage, and he did overall have a very nice environment to live in. Even one where we saw, like, the ghost of DeAndre Swift come in and play his best football, like, ever. So I do feel like he was even in a more favorable spot than May, and May still was just so consistent. His deep ball was as automatic as it gets, and he's even so young, and I think that he has the tools to keep getting better in that way too. Like, I don't think he's Goff, where he just has to, like, take what the weapons give him, and then he's only limited so much. Like, I think he's a good athlete, really nice arm, but he's also, like, really good at the actual quarterback things too. Yeah. So, like, I feel like him playing a little bad in the playoffs against, like, 3 elite defenses.
A little bad. All right.
I mean, he made it to the Super Bowl. Like, he played enough, but, like, yeah, he was poor. But, like, I mean, Caleb, like, he had a very nice playoff outside of the very, very end. So I think just, like, the memory of that is a little bit more prominent than the full season of Drake May. Plus AJ Brown.
Yeah, A.J. Brown's a nice add. I mean, if we're talking about the offenses as a whole, that's one thing, right? If we're talking about the quarterbacks themselves, that's another. I'm not down on Caleb Williams. I have him in my top 10. I think he's really good. I'll take it a step further. Take out size, he's got the best tools of any quarterback in the NFL. Not that taking out size is something that, like, not that size doesn't matter, I'll say, but that outside of that, like, his arm and speed and his ability to, like, throw on the run, I mean, it's unbelievable. So he's got all these highlight plays. Like, there's a reason for it. And he's also just got the demeanor to attempt all of these crazy things. And in general, give me that over someone who's scared. Definitely. Not even a question. There are no scared quarterbacks in my top 10, I can tell you that, right? But that being said, Caleb does have, like, a serious accuracy issue. And I don't think it's unreasonable to expect it to get better. But I can't, like, just say, like, well, it will, like, as a total guarantee. I've got to see it first, because it's not like it got wildly better from year 1 to year 2. I think he was the least accurate quarterback in on-target percentage in the entire NFL, outside of maybe J.J. McCarthy or somebody like that. So I do think there's something you really got to see with Williams. It's not that I don't think he can see the field. I think there's plenty of plays where he sits in the pocket and can work within structure, although it needs to become more consistent, certainly. He's still quick to bail, of course, but in general, I think his high-end stuff is awesome, but I think the accuracy is concerning, and he's still got some developing to do in terms of just sitting in the pocket maybe when he can sometimes. Now, May isn't perfect either, but May led, I mean, I think the number 1 or number 2, one of the top, it's Packers, Patriots, and Rams as the top 3 most efficient passing offenses, and he did it with a supporting cast that had absolutely no business doing it. He is one of, if not the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. He sees the field extremely well, and he's super physical and a great rushing threat on top of that. And while he's no Caleb Williams, he still absolutely can get outside of the pocket and make a play. So I think he's unbelievably well-rounded for a year two quarterback. And, you know, if we're only looking at top end, out of structure, high end, highlight plays as a player's ceiling, yes, Williams has a higher ceiling. But May's ceiling clearly is MVP of the league. He could have won last year. He was a ballot away from winning MVP of the league, and he was my pick. I don't think that Stafford should have won. So, to me, I'm going Drake May right now. That being said, no, he was just bad in the playoffs, right? The offense around him was tough, of course. The tackle play was bad, and I mean, like, there's only so much you can do, and they're not going to go beat the Seahawks with the situation that they were in and how they were running most of the time. I would agree, but he took way too many hits. He stood in there way too long. Too many moments of him trusting Will Campbell and trusting his pressure instead of knowing the situation and saying, like, this is ball out quick against all of these defenses, because it's Seahawks, Broncos with Nick Bonito, Texans with Will Anderson. It's like, dude, you gotta be quicker. I don't think he's always that bad, and I do think it's maybe a little bit of a mentality thing where he really is just sitting in there rather than him, like, seeing the pressure bearing down and then getting choppy and panicking. That to me is something that I get nervous you can't fix. Having a little bit better of an internal clock in certain situations, that I think you could get better at. But I would still have him over Williams. Yeah. Not that I disagree that Williams could end up being the better quarterback necessarily. But as things stand right now, give me May.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to do. I find myself in this situation all the time. It's like I rank guys more on projection than maybe I should, but it just feels like one of those things where, like, in your opinion, do you think over the next 4 or 5 years we get a Drake May that's closer to the version that's closer to a Burrow or closer to a Herbert? I would lean Burrow, right? Probably.
Oh, man, I mean, well, I think those guys. It really depends. Burrow's on you know, he's been on more favorable offenses, I would say. But he's also been banged up. He's actually down in my rankings at 6 specifically because of that. And Lamar is at 3 specifically because of that too. Although he might be at 3 straight up. But to me, those are 2 tiers, and those guys rest at the bottom because of durability. I mean, I really think Drake May could go and win an MVP next year. He totally could. He should be one of the absolute top-end favorites. I don't know. I do trust the Bears' offense a little bit more, but A.J. Brown is really good. I guess we'll see about the medical stuff with A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Because then it gets dicey, so we'll see. But if Brown is good to go, man, I think the Patriots' passing offense is going to be awesome again, and I think May is going to be right in the mix. So, personally, I know it's only 1 year of this level of play. I think May is going to keep up what he's been doing, even if the results are maybe a little up and down dependent on the situation. Whether that makes him more like Burrow or Herbert, I'm not sure. But I'm all in on May. I really am.
Yeah, I guess the reason I ask is because I find myself trying to figure out what May looks like in a couple years, and I think Herbert right now, being 5 or 6 years in at this point, obviously we're still hanging on to so many of those high level plays and those wow moments that we see from him in the sheer arm talent and the tools. And with Burrow, we're hanging on to, more so a Super Bowl run from a couple years ago, a year where 2 seasons ago he throws for 5,000 yards. But it's like, for May, in those next few years, if the, let's say, postseason success doesn't return kind of the way it didn't with Burrow, then we're going to have ourselves having some weird conversation, like, is he living off of this one Super Bowl run? And then if he has, like, issues that Herbert's having where he gets to the postseason and he kind of fizzles out or he doesn't put his best foot forward, are you asking yourselves, like, is he still that level of quarterback because he doesn't have, like, that arm, or he doesn't make those humongous cannon level throws? Like, they both, Burrow and Herbert, both have reasons that you're sitting here, like, confidently saying that there's a reason we're still having them in these conversations. So I would lean Burrow just because, like, I could see in a few years, right, him being more of a pocket passer. He's not young anymore. Like, but the big thing with Burrow is how good of a pocket passer he is, obviously still, but he was so good when he was so young. And I think in a couple of years, we remove that tag. It's like, all right, what are we holding on to for May? So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. But the A.J. Brown thing really changes a lot for him. But poor Herbert just never got that. So that's been the problem for him too.
Herbert was just like, there's bad situations, and then what Herbert had was just completely unworkable to the highest degree. I mean, an offensive line. It's one thing to have like a bottom 5 offensive line. It's another thing to have offensive line number 32, and I'd love to put it up against any other year's offensive line 32 once the tackles went down, because you just can't do anything with that. I thought Herbert was very honorable, and there were games like, I don't think necessarily drops are always the best way to determine wide receiver talent. I'll take drops sometimes if they can come with other, you're getting open and separation and scheme and whatever. But, like, man, that Texans game in the regular season, he balled the hell out. And there's probably 4 drops that just totally cost him. And they missed a kick, and, like, that was game. That's like, man, I don't know if there's much you can do. I thought Herbert was very honorable in the sense last year that a lot of times my issue with him has been, he's very physically gifted, right? But he doesn't always like use that to go really be aggressive and run at the level you want. Last year he was. Mm-hmm. Now, it didn't end up with the Chargers passing offense being any good, really, right? Outside of it, like, I guess not being passing offense number 32, which it probably is with 24 quarterbacks at least, right? But it did mean something to how I think about Herbert as an individual player.
It did. The only real sour note is it just ending the same way that it kind of always has.
Right.
Whether that be his fault or not. It's just like...
It was a mix. I mean, obviously, the offense still had its issues. I have hope that they can be significantly better. At least the good news is that, he had the worst offensive line ever. The good news is that it was because of injury, and you get 2 tackles back, though.
Yeah,
right?
both all-pro players.
Right. So it's not like a Brown situation where it's like, their offensive line was terrible, and they're trying to hodgepodge it together in the offseason, and it's that's a little bit more difficult, right? But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, if Trey Harris can be anything, that could be kind of sweet.
Yeah, I'm big on Ladd, too. I hope he has a bounce-back year.
That's a receiver I wish we talked about the other day, because that's a fascinating circumstance, because you don't know what really went wrong last year and what created the where is Ladd circumstance in the offense. It was very bizarre because he was the guy that Herbert was going to in so many situations in his first year. I just think back to I think it wasn't, I can't remember, but I think it was against the Texans too, where it was 3rd and 18 or something like that, and he hits Ladd on a dig that he jumps and catches, and then he runs for a bunch of yards. They were losing by a score or 2 at that point, but it was a play that was okay, maybe we can actually make a comeback in this game. Those were the moments that he was going to Ladd in, and then all of a sudden he's just kind of non-existent, and people are making jokes that Quentin Johnston's the first target for the first 4 weeks. It's it was so bizarre to see the stark difference in the way that he was relied on. It went from literally being relied on to not even being thought about way too frequently.
Yeah, I think it's an obvious answer, really. I think it's just because I drafted him in fantasy, so he just had the worst year he'll ever have in his life. But I'm not drafting him next year, so he'll be back. He'll be fine.
Oh my God, I'm thinking now, because it was here's a success rate on year 1 receivers that were so and so. You remember this stat that was floating around on Twitter? And it'd be who are the maybe it was even top 12 in PPR fantasy scoring. I don't know if Ladd was quite that good as a rookie, but it was something he
really
might
close.
Have been.
It was ridiculous.
I think he snuck in there at the end because he got really hot. And then it's who are the 3 guys that you should draft because it's such a good indicator? It's Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Ladd McConkey. It's okay. So if here's the new rule going into fantasy next year. If you've never heard of the stat. No, if it's it's God, what is that NBA graphic where I can't remember the player, but it's all the legends, and then it's very specifically who's averaged 12.9 points and 3 he played for the Pacers, but it's just totally slipping my mind right now. You have to watch out
Lance
crazy.
Stevenson.
It wasn't. I don't think it was Stevenson.
Oh, I remember the exact one. It was it wasn't.
I know. I can
Hibbert.
see the graphic, and I can't.
Same.
His name is slipping me. It's gonna kill me. I'll have to look it up after this, but Yeah, you gotta really be careful about that type of stuff because I love to get burned on that type of stuff so much.
Yeah, once there's like decimals thrown in there, I'm good. Like
Right.
there's adjusting
Yeah.
it to like fit their thing, throwing in a decimal. Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah. It's easy to make stats like that if you've got a little bit of time.
Well, let's get into right before we get to our final category. We were gonna do a draft of condiments that I feel like could go pretty interestingly. Like we have our top dogs, but then once you get to like the depth of it, you're gonna be wondering like what people's true flavor is.
Yeah.
So
Also, I found it, by the way. It was Thaddeus Young.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it was players with 800 games to average 13.5 points, 5.9 rebounds, 1.4 steals on 49% field goal shooting at 30% three-point shooting. It was LeBron, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic, and Thaddeus Young.
I mean, maybe I've seen it. I don't watch basketball too much, but I frequent NBA Twitter enough to where I probably had to have seen it at some point.
It was like NBA like Instagram when you were in like high school. It was a little
okay.
like a little
That's
different.
It's been a long time
Yeah.
ago now that anybody was running Thaddeus Young propaganda.
Yeah, I know like the Tony Snell graphic. That's
Oh, the 0, and 0 and 31 minutes.
the LeBron like the Avengers picture of like who he's got on his back. It's like, yeah, I've seen that one. Like this is the team he took, but Thaddeus Young propaganda, I think that's a bit too deep for my NBA meme bag. But let's do the condiments. Matt, I'm going to give you the first overall pick because I don't know if you're going to take the guy that maybe should go or if you're going to go with what you feel like your taste is.
Well, I think the guy that should go is also what my taste is in terms of consistency. I mean, maybe you have more of a niche player is like, well, this is kind of my favorite, but the reality is ketchup is easily the number one, and it's the leader of the condiments. It's the face of the condiment world. I wouldn't really consider anything else. So yeah, I'm going ketchup, and I'm not thinking twice about it.
That's a great pick. I have no notes. That was my note.
It's an easy one.
I had the card written down. Ketchup no matter what, and like I actually don't know what to do now. We're gonna have to
You
pivot.
thought ketchup was going to make it to 2?
I was hoping, dude. I don't know if you people have a weird taste for something. I don't know. They literally call me Ketchup Boy in the Discord because of my love for ketchup. So
Oh man,
You know what? I'll take it.
You're reeling right now. Then
I know.
well,
My
who would
second
you
pick,
take?
though?
Yeah. Yes.
All right,
you
fuck
are.
it. Hot sauce. We're going hot sauce.
Hot sauce. Oh god, you're either a hot
Dude,
sauce guy or
there's-
you're not.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. There's some guys that go hot sauce pretty quickly. I'm not the biggest spicy guy, but I can get down with hot sauce on a good amount of stuff with eggs.
Dude,
I
hot
can get down with
sauce,
hot sauce.
especially at like the restaurant here, Skyline, where it's like you have oyster crackers with hot sauce on them. It's a complete. That got me into hot sauce as a whole. It is unbelievable.
Yes, I've had hot sauce with my Skyline before. Maybe I'll have to try it next time.
It's so good.
What else do you put hot sauce on? Because I know you probably have a long list of things
Ooh,
that
that's
you
a good question.
love hot sauce with.
Pretty basic hot sauce stuff. Like I wouldn't say I'm
the
like
people
putting it
that
on like
use hot sauce.
Okay, basic hot sauce. So.
Yeah.
like
what?
meat related. Like we're talking like chicken or something normal. Like I'm not putting it on like tortilla chips. Like it's mostly gonna be
What
Outside
chicken
of-
situation?
like chicken wings. We will do
Right.
that. Like if we're talking like a Frank's Red Hot, I put that on like most chicken that I make. I would say.
Okay. What
Is
else?
it like ground chicken and sort of like a slot?
Oh God
bowl
no,
and then you
God
put the
no.
hot
It's like
sauce, or
we're
you-
like baking chicken. Like a chicken, like a chicken thigh. We're gonna bake a chicken thigh and we're gonna use some Frank's Red.
Yeah, I'm not against that.
100% of the time.
Hot sauce was relatively high on my list.
Yeah, but I feel like some hot sauce people are like, I throw it on my mac and cheese. I throw it in my salad. Like they're just throwing hot sauce. Like
That's
wherever
ketchup
they
for me.
can. That might be worse.
What's the craziest thing you put ketchup on?
To this day, I don't know. But like growing up, it was like grilled cheese, mac and cheese. I was putting like my sliced apples in that shit. Like it was a lot.
Sliced apples?
Sliced
Yeah.
apples is nuts.
Well, yeah, I
That doesn't
graduated.
work at all.
I know.
What would you
but
say? What would you say right now?
I would do
We're
it
giving
like
grace to the 8-year-old version of you.
I'll do mac and cheese to this day. All like pretty all the time.
That just completely destroys what mac and cheese and what makes it great.
Oh, it takes over, but it's great.
Oh, is it though? Like mac and cheese is one of the American backbones.
All right.
Of like it is like mac and cheese is.
How could you do this?
I know. How
You
could
monster.
ruin
One of the backbones.
This is what's wrong with America. Too much
mac
ketchup.
And cheese. You ruin the good name of
Ketchup
mac and
is
cheese.
My fault.
That's my fault is right. That's
Tell me about your blue cheese. Tell me all about it.
Okay. You jerk. Yeah, I am going to go with blue cheese. Okay? I am. And there's no reason why I shouldn't. Blue cheese could go on so many things. It comes in so many forms. It comes in crumble. You can get blue cheese dressing. You can get, chunky blue cheese. There's nothing about blue cheese. It's great. It's great. Blue cheese is superior to ranch. It's superior to. I'm putting blue cheese on more things than I am ketchup. I think at this point, but I it's not overpowered. Yeah, like I think I am. I think the thing with blue cheese is like you can dip a lot of things in it too, like a fry. You can put a fry into blue cheese. You can put blue cheese, some form of blue cheese into a salad. Like you're not doing that with ketchup. You're gonna ruin whatever you have.
It's not even allowed like in my apartment. Like I won't even bring it in here. It doesn't even exist in my fridge. But I mean, it makes sense. The guy from Buffalo, like the birthplace of the chicken wing, likes blue cheese. That makes a lot of sense.
This is the second time I'm hearing something like that when doing one of these things. It is just good. It doesn't have to be a Buffalo thing. It is just purely good.
I had it for the first time like this year because I'm so picky, and it was like a spit out of the while driving, like spit out of the mouth kind of thing.
Really?
Into the wrapper, yeah.
And that's interesting to try it while. I'm not hating on the eating and driving. I think it's interesting to try it for the first time while driving.
I drive like 35 minutes most ways, so it's like I do most of my eating while driving. It's like do a lot of eating and driving.
I think blue cheese is fine. I guess I'm not gravitating towards it consistently. I don't think it's a bad pick necessarily. There's some mainstays that I would go over blue cheese pretty easily.
Well, I know Ray's going to go next. Whoever goes next, that's what's going to happen here.
Well, do we want to do a snake so you get the next pick?
That's what I'm wondering because I feel like if we don't snake, I'm going to get harassed because I'm just going to end up without ranch or ketchup or hot sauce. Then at that point, I'm in the trenches with my picks here. So, I think for the sheer fact that I need a powerhouse player, I gotta go ranch. I mean, everybody likes ranch. You can use it in a lot of things. It's just as tough because ranch and blue cheese, they do a lot of the same things. So now I'm kind of having some overlap. But I think I need somebody that is very much a fan favorite. So I guess I have to do it.
Appealing to the fan base. This is a Matthew Golden pick. No, I'm kidding. It's actually like it's a good solid pick. I'm not a ranch guy either. Like I think most like condiments that are white, I usually don't go towards. Maybe it's biological, but like it's just not.
I was gonna say
it's just not quite for me.
I'm not the biggest ranch guy either. I think it's good, but I also think like something like ranch on pizza. I think it's just nuts. I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
I don't think a pizza doesn't need anything more, really. It's already pretty heavy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like ranch on ranch stuff makes sense. Like where it's like supposed to come with ranch.
Great. Let's do it with the celery. That's perfect. Or a salad or whatever. But pizza is a bridge too far.
I feel like you guys are convincing me to change my pick. If no one's
don't change your pick
here. I don't know.
I mean, ranch is like the most like one of the most used
Now you're realizing
things.
ranch was going to fall.
Yes, I am. You're right. I can't.
By my end,
you're right.
By my end, it was definitely falling. Yeah.
If you would have said you were going to take it, then I'd change my pick. But if it's going to fall, that feels like I'm really ruining the spirit of the draft. So
it's been taken. You took Matthew Golden.
Yes, I did. I'm kind of upset. Go ahead, Austin.
I'm gonna slam barbecue sauce down here. I'm a big barbecue sauce fan, especially from like a couple of like the local places here have like a really good barbecue sauce that I keep stashed at all times. Shout out Montgomery Inn. But I also am a big Sweet Baby Ray's fan. Like I keep that on stash. Like I put that shit on everything. That's probably I probably should have took that in the first round.
I mean, it depends on like what we're talking. I feel like for the most part, I'm putting barbecue sauce on some version of chicken. I throw it on like pulled pork. I mean, how much else am I really putting barbecue sauce on though? I can't say I have a long list.
So
Whole
this
lot.
encompasses kind of like all barbecue sauces.
For sure.
So you're getting sort of your stereotypical, like, I go to Wendy's, I get a little thing of barbecue sauce, I get that, but then you're also getting like a mustard based, like a
Yeah.
Chili's type of situation. I think you're getting a lot with that one. I agree. I guess I'm not going barbecue sauce that frequently, frankly. Honestly, my variety in condiments on a day-to-day basis is really not that great overall. But I think that makes sense. There's a lot of really good barbecue sauces. There's a lot of love and thought put into barbecue sauce around the country for sure.
It's an American sauce, like through and through. That is a
So
a
the
Southern
barbecue sauce could be an American backbone, but the mac and cheese can't be without getting mocked.
Political pickets.
That seems
Mac and-
unfair.
Matt got woke. Yeah, barbecue's a thing forever.
All right, Matt, where are
So
you
that brings
going?
it back to me. So here's a question I had while I was researching this. I was like, let me just get a list of condiments in front of me because I think that's the best way to try to build on my big board. A lot of places were saying that guacamole and salsa were condiments. Do you guys agree with that?
No,
I don't
think,
either. I think that's nuts.
That's a
Guac
dip.
is not
No.
a
it's a dip.
It's
That's
a
more
dip.
a
Both
dip.
of them are dips.
Yes.
To me, it a condiment sits in a bottle, like either on a shelf or in a fridge.
Right,
It's something
I
you
would
like
never
squeeze
have a-
out.
Right. I completely agree. Even though you do get, it's not exclusively a dip because I'll get, if I go to like Chipotle and I get a bowl, I'll get
Sure.
like, you can get guac on it. I will get salsa on it, that type of stuff. But that doesn't make it a condiment.
No.
And I can't tell you why either. It just feels different.
It's just wrong. It's just
Right.
not how it is, I swear. Okay, well, my next pick's going to be mustard.
I was gonna say, is mustard gonna
Yeah.
fall out of the top 2 rounds?
Yeah, no, I mean, mustard was my number 2 on my big board, just behind
Oh.
ketchup. If I'm being honest, I know that's regular, and that's not even counting honey mustard. I'll say that's different straight up. I go mustard as much as I go ketchup. I really like to mix it up with my hot dogs or my burgers or whatever. And you get a lot of options with the spicy or Dijon or whatever you want to do, or just the regular yellow. And mustard can work in both like hot food and cold food environments, when I think a lot of condiments you can't say that about.
I think that's fair. Like even like I don't know that many people that are like, oh yeah, like I'm smothering this in mustard. Like they don't have the same fan base as like a ranch or a ketchup. But it's a good solid pick, and they're gonna have it everywhere. At every ball game you go to on your hot dog, you're gonna have the red pump and the yellow pump. Everything else can vary, but you can bet on those two.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a ball game last night and I hit up the yellow pump, man. I mean, I was like, let me get some mustard this time around, even though ketchup would be my number 1. And I'm a big deli sandwich guy. That's probably like the
do
number
it.
1 thing I'm really going for in the day-to-day. So between just like, when I'm going out to like ball games or like there's a cookout, ketchup and mustard are always there. I can actually like go to the grocery store. I've got like mustard that I use in my house. And for the same reason, for the same deli sandwich reason, then I got mayo as my next pick here on the swing. I'm a big mayo guy. I think you got to be careful. You go anywhere, any sandwich shop, you got to be a little bit of mayo. Because it's one of those things where if you ask for it straight up, you'll get a huge portion of mayo and globs of mayo coming out. It's like, all right, I don't need all that. Or same with sour cream, right? If you go to Chipotle, you got to be
good God,
careful
yeah.
about the sour cream. Well, because it's honestly not the workers' fault. They have this humongous ladle, and sour cream has a very difficult like viscosity that makes it tough to really get the portion right. But yeah, I use mayo for sandwiches all the time, and I'm always getting mayo on any deli sandwich I get from like a Jimmy John's or a Jersey Mike's or wherever it may be. So in terms of like use case, it's probably my top 3, honestly, is ketchup, mustard, and just mayo.
Yeah. I mean, mayo is the backbone of America.
Okay.
I mean,
completely agree.
dude. I mean,
Matt
well,
has the 3 backbone condiments. Matt's
We
built
haven't
the most-
talked about a condiment today that isn't the backbone. Frankly, this country is built on condiments. On the
I
whole.
agree.
There's a lot of dishes that require mayonnaise that you don't
Well,
think about. Potato
that was
salad,
my point.
Grandma's potato salad is my number one. Yeah, that's my favorite. So I guess I have to have it to get that. So
Or everyone's
all
like
sorts of stuff.
favorite burger sauce. Everyone's like favorite like cane sauce. Any most like burger sauces or anything like that's like a combination of sauces got the mayo base. So like a lot of those like restaurant specific sauces where they're like, what's in it? It's mayo and probably ketchup.
Yeah, it's usually right.
Yeah.
Damn, that sucks because I was hoping that was going to sneak down, but now I'm in trouble.
All right.
I fucked up with the ranch pick. I should have let it fall.
Oh damn it, the ranch. Yeah, I'm gonna go a different direction. We're going east. I'm gonna take soy sauce. Soy sauce is gonna be my next pick, and this is because it dominates its field completely. Like if you're going to any like sushi place, any Chinese restaurant, like you are just demolishing your food in soy sauce.
Yeah, I definitely use it when I go to get sushi, so I can't disagree. It's probably on the short list of condiments I consistently use.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's not like my crazy favorite. Like I'm not sitting here kicking myself over
Like dude.
over you landing it, but it's good.
Oh man, well I have a tough decision here. I don't know where I want to go with this because you make the point about how mayo is in a lot of like your average favorite sauces and it's and condiment. And it's like, do I feel like I'm kind of cheating by taking something that is so mayo based? Like I guess we don't know how based in mayo some of these things are, but does it qualify if you take something that is so mayo related?
If it's like 35% mayo, then that's the mayo doing the work.
Yeah, I guess we wouldn't know. So you know what? I'm going to avoid it. I might walk a fine line with this one. And I'm going to go I'm going to get away from the American backbones. And
I already did that, so you're good.
all right, that's true. You did. But I'm going to go with tzatziki. Tzatziki, is it a condiment? It's a dip, but I feel like you could put tzatziki on a sandwich. You could spread it on bread depending on what you're kind of having. And it walks more of that line than I feel like salsa does, or whatever. What did you mention? Salsa and guac.
Guac's salsa I can get. Guac's crazy.
Yeah, like I think tzatziki you can kind of use a lot more in like a sandwich setting than you can. But it's tough because then I'm left with what? Relish. I don't like relish, so I can't
No one
do
does.
that.
It's just there for
likes,
show.
Who likes relish? That guy's not making the
Too
list.
green. Not for me.
Like chipotle mayo, like I said, that's mayo.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, it's half the name.
So it's like, what are you left with? Maple syrup?
Oh shit.
I might go with maple
Low
syrup.
key.
That
Yeah.
feels like it has to be in here
You
somewhere.
know, I didn't consider that honestly, and like spiritually, I don't think of it as a condiment, but I can't really form an argument as to why it wouldn't be. It totally
No,
is.
you squeeze it out of a jar or a bottle or
Yeah,
whatever, and
it's a condiment.
it's a
There's
breakfast condiment, and it's fantastic. So yeah, that's a great pick.
In fact, you only really use it as a condiment. Like it doesn't have any other use case other than just
No, it
going on
doesn't.
top of pancakes or whatever. So I'm sure it's in recipes and whatnot. I mean, it is, but that doesn't disqualify it.
Oh, I'm unhappy with my team. I got to be honest.
It's a good team.
Yeah, you got to get to. I don't like my team. I have too much overlap. Maple syrup is just kind of the odd man out. I don't know what to do with these.
That was the
three
best
guys.
one you picked, dude. I
It
wouldn't.
was.
I
No,
wouldn't be
blue
too
cheese
sad
was
about that.
good. Blue cheese was good, but ranch. I'm trading ranch. Anybody want ranch? He's on the table.
No, I'm straight.
All right. The last segment I wanted to get to was. It's called Who Would You Rather Have for a Game-Winning Drive? So it's basically a who would you rather have, and it is. But I tried to pin guys together that I feel like would really make you think, and this is going to be reaching into all-time bags. We're not going like too crazy here. I didn't just look at like fourth quarter comebacks and put like Derek Carr on here. So let's start with the first one that I feel like is the best one, and that's Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers. Who would you rather have for a game-winning drive? Assuming they're at their peak powers.
Like 2011 Rodgers and like 2019 Lamar.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have Rodgers.
Yeah. I mean, we were just discussing like peaks earlier. And I think Aaron Rodgers might have like the greatest peak of quarterback I've ever seen. And he won the Super Bowl.
He was nasty at his
Yeah.
absolute prime, and he was like super turnover avoidant, and he could get super creative. I mean, I'm high on Lamar. I love Lamar, but give me Rodgers.
Yeah.
If we changed it from you don't know what version of them you're gonna get, barring like the bad end of it,
So I could have like 4-year-old Lamar.
That would suck.
you
I
can
think
get
we
like
gotta run the ball or something. Yeah, I mean, I think. Ooh. Well, then I would take Lamar then, because with Rodgers, there's just like you're already kind of bleeding a lot of risk of like just getting the current version of him, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with Lamar, he's been good most of the starts that he's made. I mean, he was an MVP in year 2, right? And even year 1, he came in and the Ravens started winning. Not to say that, I don't know. I think I would still go because Rodgers had like a stretch for a while. I guess Lamar hasn't gotten to the point in his career though where he's going to start having like these
Right.
subprime years yet. That's the difference. But outside of that, then I would just rather have Rodgers.
If we're just
And
talking
get
about
around
like
there.
the base version of them, like
think that's
like
kinda
the
what
me-
I'm-
like
what I'm
like the
getting at.
median
Okay.
Lamar, not
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
not peak, maybe not like this last year, but like general like what like in 10 years when you're thinking back to what Lamar played like and when you think back to what Rodgers played like, those versions like I'm taking Rodgers. I think like that to me is a top 5 quarterback of all time.
even in like you need one drive for your life. You feel like I think of this in a way of like Aaron Rodgers in those big moments, and he's unfortunately gotten a bad rap for being not necessarily the most clutch quarterback ever. I feel like that is kind of where it derives from, and Lamar kind of
Yeah.
gets the same.
That's
similar,
I was about to say it. Like at least he has like the Super Bowl win. Rodgers does, but
Right.
like and like that possibly another one if they didn't have a crazy Seattle onside recovery. So like I think he's been
And
a lot
even-
closer to those than Lamar because Lamar had like the Chiefs game, but even like he didn't play all that well in that one. It wasn't all on him, but like most of his playoff endings are like, yeah, his team kind of let him down. He also didn't really play all that well either, like kind of just a full team let down. But he hasn't had any moments where I'm like, oh yeah, Mr. Clutch. Like I've never accused him of being like a playoff riser or like a big game riser.
Would it
Yeah,
be
I would still go Rodgers.
would it be easier if it was more of like a who is more clutch? Would that make it more clear
No,
as far as what the expectation is?
I'm just taking Rodgers. Like in almost every sense, I'm taking like I just think like so highly of him. As much as I loved like prime Lamar.
No, yeah, I'm not arguing. I just mean for the future of these questions. Like, would that make it more clear? We'll go with that. Peyton Manning or Eli Manning? It's an
I said Peyton.
it's not as clear cut. I feel like just given like
If we're
Eli's
talking, like, just-
resume.
Yeah, like just
In
the
those big
word
moments.
clutch makes it different. But like in a general sense, if I just want like a regular 2-minute drill, like in November, I'm taking Peyton. Like
Well,
pretty
no, we're
comfortably.
talking high stakes though. We're talking like highest stakes.
I still think I'm taking Peyton. I mean, he's won himself too, and it wasn't just the terrible win at the end of his career. Like he won a Super Bowl before that. Like he's won before. Eli had an amazing stretch of small games, but like for an entire career of Eli Manning, like I don't know. Like I think a lot of those Eli Manning moments were reliant on like David Tyree making the craziest catch of all time and like some other things like that that give him the like the ultimate clutch label. But I feel like Peyton Manning's pretty
I mean,
clutch.
when he got hot for those playoff runs, and I agree about the Tyree. It's like good play by Manning still to get the ball up, but like you could throw that up and it's not caught easily, and you made the exact same play yourself. The Manningham throw was pretty.
It was
one of
nuts.
the best
That was
throws of all
one of the
time.
craziest
It's one
hole
of the best
shots
throws
I've
of
ever
all
seen.
time.
Yeah.
That one's pretty good.
Like also shout out
I
Giants defense for holding like one of the greatest offenses of all time to like a kind of low score.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think Eli obviously has his big moments. I guess I get the argument, whereas like Peyton, it's a lot easier to imagine the negative ones. But I think Peyton's got more plus moments than people probably give him credit for. And I think Peyton is also kind of shackled with much higher expectations compared to Eli. So, yeah, Eli's got a couple of big time runs, but he's also got a lot of years where he didn't really do all that much. And, looking back on it now after his career, now that he's like Hall of Fame eligible, so it's been a long time, you don't really remember like, well, how did that season end, right? How did that season go down? And the final moments. So I would get Eli, but I'm still going Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
What about Brett Favre versus Dan Marino?
I give me Marino. Favre is a psycho.
Well,
I
I
have no
guess
faith in him whatsoever.
barring the bad interception,
The Vikings.
the Vikings bad interception.
I can't bar that. Favre is a psycho. He leads the NFL in all-time interception leader. Or is it? Did Peyton end up getting him on that?
I think Favre has it. I don't even know if it's like that close.
It's probably not.
I think he has it by like 100 or something. Like it's something like actually.
Favre is a psycho in general. I mean, we can pull up moments and see where Favre was good or bad, but if we're saying, it's not about what has happened, but what you think just an average version of Favre would do. Like, Favre is a psycho. My life on the line, and it's Brett Favre out there, dude. Not sorry,
no. Dan Marino was an unbelievable talent that unfortunately just didn't win. But like, I don't think anyone's accusing Dan Marino of being like the reason that the Dolphins never won anything. It was usually like this guy had the most mediocre supporting cast of any superstar quarterback of all time, and they just didn't win the big game.
Yeah, I guess life on the line, Brett Favre is the last guy who probably won.
Well, he's a great quarterback still, of course, and like being a gunslinger, there's something worth that. But like also that Vikings throw is one of the worst interceptions of all time, easily. Especially, I mean, we were looking into that the other day and how that came through. That's a bad loss. That's one of the 10 worst losses in NFL, probably.
Yeah, where was it? Was it against the Saints?
Yeah, it's against the Saints in the NFC Championship game, and they've got the ball in field goal range, and they're like, the Saints have their timeouts, and they're running down the clock, and they go. It's like 1st and 10. It's 50-yarder. Kicker's been good all year, and they run. Burn the clock down to 20 seconds, timeout. Run again, timeout. And then on 3rd down, 12 men in the huddle, 5-yard penalty. Now you're past your kicker's career long. So then they go to throw the ball, and Favre kind of has a runway to just like take a couple of yards and try the field goal, and he throws it across his body, right to Porter, and then they lose in overtime.
God, what an incredible play that was. Yeah, Marino for sure. Yeah, I'm so convinced.
that call is one of the greatest in history.
Yes, it was. That's the only reason I know about that play. It's because like looking at like angriest announcer compilations when I was like 15. Like, why are they so mad at him? Because like I didn't know the stakes, and I'm like, oh shit, like that was like the NFC Championship. Okay.
All right. What about? I'm trying to find one that's really tough because I thought these would be tougher, but I guess they're not. So how about we get a little bit more recent? Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence.
I think Love, probably.
I think I would take Love too. I guess it would kind of depend.
Like,
I'd take Love. I think. I mean, Lawrence has had his bad moments. He had the bad interception in the Bills playoff game, right? Whereas Love, I thought, had kind of a better end of the season. And I don't have any thoughts about them other than their very last play and the very last playoff game that they played.
Yeah.
But Lawrence had the very cool. I fell down and got back up and
yes,
ran
he did.
for a touchdown versus the Chiefs. But I don't know if like I'm really counting on that type of situation to come back up.
Yeah.
But I do like that he never gives up, and if my life is on the line, that really means something to me.
Yeah, is amazing of talent like physically as both of them are in the throws they can do. I don't think I'm picking either of them as like last minute. Like I need a clutch, like smart decision from these guys. Probably not the two that I'm calling. As much as I love them both.
Probably
I
not,
get the whole NFL. Probably not.
No, probably not. Well, this one is even worse in that sense. Bryce Young or Bo Nix?
Bo Nix, I think.
Bryce is unbelievably clutch.
Yeah,
that's
one thing that he's.
So is Bo. Bo is also clutch.
Bo
really?
knows.
What is Bo's like game-winning drives or fourth quarter comebacks at? I think I have Bo above. Well, I have Bo above Bryce right now, but Bryce has had great moments in the clutch. He did last year. I can't deny
the
it.
Rams playoff game where he almost beat them. Like like with some
It's
of
a
the
shame
stupid
how they
throws.
went out in that one with the defense and
Yeah.
just how soft they played.
They just
and
got,
let
like-
Stafford pick them apart.
Oh god, they got like Colby Parkinson to lose the game. That's like the worst way to go. You don't even lose by Puka. You lose by Colby Parkinson mossing you.
Yeah,
That's a shame.
yeah, it was a shame. They should have been more aggressive. I'll go Bryce. I'll go my guy. Why not?
Fourth quarter comebacks. Bo Nix 8, Bryce Young 7. So
All right,
it's
pretty good.
It's not as wide.
I think it's
margin
just like
as
a less dramatic, like last second throw. But like he might just still get those done. He also just has more wins because they're just better.
Yeah.
True.
What about? We'll do a couple more.
That's the thing about Bryce. He's got a ton of game-winning drives. It's like, but you have like 13 wins ever in the years that you've played. Where are these coming from? And you look at, like, I guess
Like
they are.
I think most of his wins ever are probably comeback wins.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's got. I mean, what immediately sticks out is the Rams win they had in the regular season. You know, he made these great throws, and they'd go for it on fourth down, and the McMillan touchdown. He's been clutch.
What about Big Ben or Drew Brees?
I think I
Mo-
hold Breeze in a higher regard.
I do
but,
too.
Man, I was watching Super Bowl versus the Cardinals. Big Ben was pretty dang
Yeah.
good down the stretch in that one. He actually had a really tough throw from the end zone, 3rd and 10 with 3 minutes to go, and picked up the first, but it got called back. I didn't realize how this game played out because it had been so long, and I was like 8.
Yeah.
But the way the Cardinals came back, I mean, it was like a 13-point game. Larry Fitzgerald, 7 minutes to go, like fade in the end zone. Punt back. Steelers are trying to like basically ice the game and run out the clock. And Big Ben completes this great pass over the middle, holding safety because it happens in the end zone. And then Larry like houses a slant like 2 plays later, and it's like, oh my God, they've got the lead. And then they ended up blowing it, of course. But I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of like clutch Breeze moments off the top of my head. Frankly, what sticks to mind is the interception of the 2018 NFC Championship game that probably shouldn't have come down.
I feel like
to
he's
that.
got him. Like I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
I feel like he does,
just
but
don't have
I
the
can't think of
catalog
it. And I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, I only have the one, to be so honest, but it was so good. Like it was like one of like the first things I thought of when we thought about like last minute drive was the Roethlisberger throw to Holmes. I'm just gonna go Breeze because I like him more. I've never liked Roethlisberger. I don't want him on my team, so I'll take Breeze.
Yeah, I'll do the same.
All right, we'll do one more. I don't know if this is going to be tough. It's tough to gauge like what makes these difficult. But what about like Russell, the best version of Russell Wilson you could think of, the better version, and Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
I
is
feel
like
Russell Wilson was ridiculously clutch in some moments.
Russell Wilson was really good,
he was, but
but Josh Allen's. Josh
Yeah.
Allen is really good too.
Yeah,
and
He's
it's
He's
tough
got the
'cause
Ravens come back week 1. I'm thinking about that, and my life on the line. He's not going to troll around with the fumble. He's not doing that. type
not
of
for you.
stuff.
He would never do that to you.
He's not going to even think about lateraling the ball to anybody at any point on any play. We're cool.
Like, yeah, I don't know. It's
Because
Russell Wilson, like he was also like a beneficiary of like a lot of really good things going his way playoff wise, and Josh has just been the opposite. Like the touchdown to Gabe Davis is a celebrated moment for 31 other teams. So like, wow, like what a clutch moment. He just drove down the field and scored a huge bomb to win. Like we just won. We're going to the Super Bowl potentially, but instead, that's called a loss because his defense folded in 13 seconds. Whereas Russell Wilson, there's like so many plays off the top of my head, like, like the onside kick and multiple other things where like they helped him a lot too.
He never really gets blamed for it, but he did throw like the most pivotal interception.
Yeah, it's they only like all the blame to that goes to the coach from the people, but it's like he also threw it. Like it wasn't like the only option he had on that play, and he didn't have to put it exactly right there.
He could
either.
have done just about anything else, and it would have been
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe I'm just I don't know. Maybe I'm hating on Josh Allen too much, but it
I
feels
think
like
Josh
there are-
Allen's a fantastic playoff performer, despite not winning like the
Yeah,
biggest games. I think he's really good in them. They just don't win them.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no,
I
there's
mean,
no
13
doubt.
seconds was so screwed because like he balled out, and 13 seconds happens, and then they lose in overtime. He didn't ever touch the ball again after that. It's like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The Bills get hate, and Josh Allen gets hate for changing the overtime rules. But like, you go back and watch those old games. The number of old games where it's like, and then this team won the toss, and they, marched down the field in 7.5 minutes and kicked the field goal, and it was game over. It's like, man, that sucks, dude.
Yeah.
We should
Josh
be
just had
happy
to
that
sit
those aren't the
there.
rules anymore.
Like the
Yeah.
last thing Josh got to do was score a touchdown with 13 seconds left, and then didn't get to
Right.
see the field the rest of the game. Like the Chiefs were allowed to go score twice in that amount of time. So, yeah, I think it was a fair call.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any that could really stump you guys. Like maybe Matt Stafford and Pat Mahomes. This is my last shot.
I gotta go Mahomes.
What like yeah is it, if it's like present day Mahomes, I don't feel quite as good about, but like any other like great version of Mahomes, I'm
Yeah.
taking him. But like present day, like if you just trolled out like their current versions, I might take Stafford.
I mean, I think Stafford has, in terms of like most clutch moments, I think the 13-second thing with Mahomes is clutch, but it's also like I think a lot of quarterbacks with 2 eyes and an arm could probably complete the couple passes that he did to get them into field goal range. So it's like how much of that is Mahomes being clutch? It's like with Stafford, I think he's got one of the most clutch drives in Super Bowl history.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
We'll
how
talk
much
about
you
that.
value that. Yeah, sorry.
Please. it's actually so
I mean,
bad.
I think the Chiefs have had seasons carried off the back of Mahomes just being so good in high leverage moments. I think he's got a great balance of ability to run. Obviously like willing to take deep shots and make plays out of structure. He can start to run, but still like throw the ball and keep his eyes downfield. He's really top tier at that. And he also makes quick decisions when he needs to. I just think he's a threat to do everything at all times. And he's had his fair share of really, really great clutch moments. So I'm taking Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
I also think he's just better than Matthew Stafford.
Stafford did hit that bomb to cup against the Buccaneers.
He did do that. Stafford's
he
a
did. I'm not saying
notoriously
Stafford's not
clutch
good.
quarterback. Like that's he's one of the first guys I think of when I think of like a guy that I need one drive out of. Not a full season or a full game, like one drive with like reasonable weapons and reasonable time in the pocket. Like he might be like the one guy I go to like present day.
When I think of somebody like particularly clutch, but here's the thing: when I think about the clutch guys, I just think about like Brady and Mahomes and Rodgers and like guys who are just great. Typically, they're the clutchest ones because they're so dang good. I would guess. I mean, the first guy I think of clutch, like kind of beyond how good they were, is Eli. Really.
Yeah, sadly that was good.
Because,
Yeah.
that's the guy. Stafford, I can see some of that for too. But Stafford's also like really good in his own right, and so is Eli at times. So
Yeah. This played out better in my head. I was trying to figure out how to pin guys together and think if we had like some high moments and versus volume of like clutch moments. But anyway, we have crossed a pretty long line here. So Matt, I want to thank you again for coming on. Definitely a great time. So I appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight.
no, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great. So thank you again. And that wraps up our positional summit series. This is always like one of the most fun things we do every off season. So it was good to have guests on this time around for all the Stay Hot guys. So another thank you to you guys for hopping on. It was really cool of you to do. So if you guys enjoyed, definitely check out all of Matt's socials down in the description. All of Stay Hot stuff will be down there as well. Subscribe, like, comment, share, follow, do all that shit, and we will see you in episode whatever the hell is next. It's 116.